Netanyahu's efforts to form a new coalition government with other right-wing parties. What will his return to power presage for Israel's relationship with the United States, led as it is now by President Joe Biden, hardly Mr. Netanyahu's political soulmate? Elad Simchayoff is a UK-based correspondent for Channel 12 in Israel.
I think it will be much more difficult for Benjamin Netanyahu dealing with a liberal Democrat American president. We saw his clashing with Obama, which is very close to President Biden, and now even more so than before, because if you look at the potential coalition, it will be much more right-wing, extremist, ultra-orthodox. He will have a partner named Itamar Ben-Gvir, and he's very right-wing, extremist. So this coalition will be a lot harder for the American Democrats and even for Europeans to deal with. I think Benjamin Netanyahu knows that.
He argues it's a measure of how far to the right Israeli politics may be about to turn, that in the upcoming coalition, Benjamin Netanyahu could be the most left-leaning member, which of course in and of itself torpedoes any hopes of settlement negotiations with the Palestinians and will indeed have impacts for Israel on the global stage. The main news again, Prime Minister Yair Lapid has now conceded defeat in Israel's general election, meaning Benjamin Netanyahu will form the country's next government. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. He was shot in the leg as he prepared to address a rally. And Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter. That's half the workforce before the week is out. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
In this week's Onion Tips section, 5 easy ways to adapt your deplorable and parasitic existence for the upcoming Armageddon. Tip 1. Focus on preparing your home for any number of disaster situations, which still probably won't take your mind off of your impending death or the myriad mistakes you made in your short, pitiful life. Tip 2. Make sure your linens are clean prior to the upcoming catastrophe, as these are likely the very same sheets on which you will soon be slowly asphyxiated. Tip 3. Take some time off work and spend your last days free from the bonds of the oppressive machine that was just about the only thing giving you a purpose to your otherwise insignificant days. Tip 4. Spend your final waking minutes before the end of the world with your family, knowing full well you'd rather be doing a number of other gratifying yet completely depraved things. Right, sicko? In other news, a smitten foot fetishist thinks these may be the two. A woman and her gay best friend go on another one of their little adventures, and a dead daughter would have wanted a $220 million liability settlement.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Welcome to the show. The phones are open if you want to join us. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Man, it has been a whirlwind 24 hours, especially for you, Joe.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's Ian here tonight.
And Joe.
Joe is here from Breaking the Flaw. We're going to be joined shortly by Reed Coverdale as well, running a little bit late. There's a lot to talk about that has just happened within the last 24 hours. And, you know, I always have to preface conversations that involve, like, politics in New Hampshire with this sort of disclaimer. I mean, we're a national show. I don't find politics to be particularly interesting, period.
No.
And I certainly understand that, you know, most people don't even know, you know, who their own local politicians are, let alone what's going on in some other state halfway across the country or even next door for that matter. So I don't pretend to think that anybody out there cares about this political race, and that's not what we're here to talk about.
Right.
But there is a New Hampshire Senate, or rather U.S. Senate race for New Hampshire competition that's happening here, and I think it's nationally noteworthy for a couple of different reasons. One, there actually are people talking about it nationally before what happened last night. It's been It's been seen as
pretty big.
Yeah, it's been seen as like a potential tie-breaking race for the Republicans and Democrats because, you know, New Hampshire is sort of like this purple state. It's not really one way or the other as far as red versus blue. There's, for instance, in the last election in 2020, the Democrats took the federal seats, but but the Republicans took the state seats. They took the governor, they took the state reps and the state senators. So there's this sort of mixed bag here in New Hampshire. The plurality of the voters in New Hampshire are what they call undeclared voters, meaning there are more people who are so-called undeclared than there are Republicans,
right,
and there are more people who are undeclared than there are Democrats. Now, they're not more than the Republicans and Democrats combined,
sure,
but more than each category.
Right.
So it's this kind of unique...
Big swaying voting. No one knows.
Right. Whoever the undeclareds go for is who wins.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting, unique place from a political perspective. And, I haven't even talked about the fact that we have a huge state legislature, and there's all these cool things at the state level that make New Hampshire one of the reasons why it was targeted as the destination for the Free State Project, which is this migration, this political migration of liberty-minded people who've all focused their efforts here. And that's why you're here. I mean, you're not a member of the Free State Project, right, Joe?
No, I actually did sign, and then I revoked my signature.
I did the same thing.
And I did that in boycott.
Oh, okay.
For a specific thing, but now they're earning the respect. Actually, most of my friends are free staters, and maybe I will sign it just to maybe tick off some of the people.
I still support the Free State Project, even though I did the same thing as you. I signed up, moved here, and then I ultimately resigned my membership. But I still am a full supporter. I think that I donate to their causes, and I've sponsored their events and that kind of thing.
It's the idea. It's not so much the organization.
Right. I agree with that. In fact, that's really the idea that I support, the idea of liberty-minded activists migrating here. Whether you want to sign up for the Free State Project or not, I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Just get here.
Yeah,
Just get here, where you can actually be nearby other people who can make a difference. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. We're going to focus on what happened last night and how it was that the migration made last night possible. In fact, the migration here not only made last night possible, but may have actually saved you from these criminal charges that you're now facing, because there were so many supporters of liberty there with video cameras that had their cameras on what happened to you,
including
Joe.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I was there. I mean, I was a little bit late to the game because I was being interviewed by NBC Boston at the time, so I was a little ways away from what transpired. But luckily, our co-host Chris Wade was there with his video camera. Bill Barger, who is a New Hampshire native and great libertarian activist, was there with his camera.
Reed, which you hope hear shortly.
I don't know if did he have a camera as well?
He didn't have a camera, but
he had a megaphone.
He was being effective,
and he was doing something cool. We'll talk about that later. But look, why don't you set back to before I even got there, because Bonnie and I showed up maybe around 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Sure.
What time did you get to this thing? This was a debate.
4 o'clock.
This was supposed to be the final debate between these two mainstream Republican-Democrat candidates. There's this guy named General Don Bolduc and the current incumbent, the Democrat Maggie Hassan. And you showed up really early for this. Yes, it was supposed to start at 8.
Yeah. The supporters of Jeremy Kauffman were deciding to get there at 4. There was already a lot of people already there.
Really?
For Maggie and Bolduc, yep.
Wow, I thought for sure if you guys were there 4 hours before this thing started that you would have been the first people there.
I would say the numbers didn't really change that much by the time you got there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And most of the people that were being bussed into the site were going into the venue. So it's not like they were just getting out and going and hang out with the crowd. They were actually going inside.
Huh.
Yeah.
So you got there, and what happened?
Well, I did my usual thing. I just I filmed. This was more of a support a candidate and a kind of like a protest, because they weren't allowing my candidate into the debate. So
Jeremy Kauffman, he's the Libertarian candidate. He's going to be on the ballot. He's the third and only other candidate on the ballot. But nope, he's not allowed to talk in this debate.
Nope. And so I was basically calling out some of the Maggie supporters and the Bolduc supporters, and I was calling them what I wanted to say. I was saying,
said
hey,
they were anti-Jewish.
Yes, I was
Jeremy's Jewish.
Who raise your hand if you want Jeremy to be in the debate, and none of them raised their hand because I asked them to, and then you're all anti-Semitic. You're all anti-Semitic.
Yeah, well, and further, the Democrats are anti-democratic, right?
Yes.
They don't want people to have options. They don't want people to have choices.
Right. Yes. It's either their choice or none. If Maggie could debate on stage alone,
she would.
She would.
Yeah. For sure.
And that's how it should have been, because I know Maggie wasn't going to turn it down. But Bolduc was in agreement at the previous debate, at the New Hampshire Public Radio debate. He sat outside, and he was actually respectful. He said that I wish Jeremy was in the debates. And, but
He's
that's
just
the case,
pandering, though.
he is pandering because he should just turn down the debate. He should be like, no, we're not going to debate until we have all the ballot candidates here in the debate.
That's what somebody who actually meant what they said would do.
Right.
But because he can win points by just saying something, it's just safe for him to just say a thing, because what he wants to do is he wants to get as many libertarian votes on his side. He wants to take those votes away from Kaufman, and he's got this army of right-wing supporters that are fully engaged in this wasted vote syndrome. Like some of them might have supported Jeremy Kaufman.
Literally, like I have a lot of Bolduc supporters saying, hey, if you don't vote for Bolduc, that's a vote for Hassan.
Which is total BS.
Yeah.
It is this mistake, this common error that, Republicans only lose votes to libertarians. Democrats would never lose a vote to a libertarian, which is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Or maybe, what about your candidate? You really look into your candidate, the Republican candidate you're supporting? Like, he's clearly a liar. I got him.
He's been proven to be a liar on more than one occasion. You're just the most recent
but this
proof
is a big
of this.
one.
This is pretty big.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing. This is pathetic.
It is very
level.
Yeah.
So what happened was you were out there along with maybe a dozen liberty activists
about a dozen.
Were there. Jeremy Kaufman signs were being held. You guys were kind of occupying this one corner across the street. Not like a full street.
It's on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's on the same side as the school that this was happening, which was St. Anselm College. But like the road that kind of turns into the college. So there was the two sides to that road, and the one side was just full of maybe over 100, probably maybe more than that. I'm
maybe
not good
more.
at estimating crowd sizes. It wasn't a huge crowd, but it was a decent amount.
The signs
of people.
made it look bigger than it was too. Right?
So there's a bunch of and they were probably only 1 inch deep, right? Like there wasn't that many people behind the signs. Like there wasn't a bunch of.
No, what's funny is that
there.
they had like 5 rows of signs, and you could not see past the first row. So there's like 4 rows hidden of signs.
I didn't think there was anybody.
I mean, I was counting it. I mean, when they all rushed over and they were like holding up high and stuff like that for the photo op. Yeah, maybe there was like 1 person deep there, but.
So there's a bunch of supporters there for both of the mainstream candidates. About a dozen freedom-minded people, about a dozen liberty-minded folks. Things are getting heated. There's, loud shouting going on.
I'm vocal. I'm swearing.
You got some things that you wanted to say to these people.
Yeah.
Reed Coverdale was calling them out for their hypocrisy on this Bolduc character who's a total warmonger.
Absolutely.
And we'll get into that coming up here as well. This is Free Talk Live. And then something happened.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Hey,
You are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. The number for you is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. As many have found out the hard way, you can't trust the military. We're going to talk about one of their guys, this General Don Bolduc, who is a liar, proven liar.
Liar.
Accused our man Joa, who's on the show here tonight, of attacking him, of hitting him.
Wait. This is the order of events here, right? He said that I swung and first he said he hit me. They swung and grazed me was his next statement, and then he swung and missed, and then his next statement was, oh no, he didn't swing at me. He didn't.
But he was gonna. He said
he tried to.
We've got some actual quotes from him coming up here in a moment. But I want to let you know, if you worked or lived at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and you've suffered from cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, you're entitled to compensation because there were contaminants in the drinking water that might have led to your disease. So if you're interested in learning more about this, you can call the number I'm about to give you, and you'll find out if you or a loved one are eligible. There might be some deadlines involved, so don't hold off on this. Go and call them at 888-918-1037. That's 888-918-1037. If you were at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and you've had a serious health issue, money is set aside. So we are back to this story here that we're beginning to tell, that I was there to witness, and Bonnie was there as well, and there were about a dozen liberty activists that were present. The purpose of the event was to protest the fact that Jeremy Kauffman, the Libertarian candidate for Senate in New Hampshire, has been excluded purposely from the debates. They also are excluding the gubernatorial candidate as well from the governor debates. And they're doing everything they can to keep the third parties as marginalized as they possibly can.
Because they're fake news. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, of course. And they don't want new ideas. They don't want alternatives being proposed. They want this dual party system all the way. And Jeremy actually made an interesting suggestion. He said if his campaign had bought $100,000 worth of advertising from the TV station, then maybe he would have gotten in.
Oh, go figure.
And now that's not something they're going to say,
No,
right? Because
no.
they can't just say that.
Yeah, no way.
But it wouldn't surprise me if he were right about that. If you did a huge ad buy with this company, all of a sudden their rules would probably loosen up a little bit as far as getting into the debate. So that's the reason why we were all out front. But you were at the event that happened last week at the New Hampshire Public Radio Studios, and that got a little heated. There was a guy that knocked your video camera.
That was, I believe it was
hand.
Hassan's,
the Democrat.
Yeah, a security officer for Hassan, like a bodyguard or something like that.
Yeah, he pushed you.
He pushed me, and so I stood my ground and gave him a little shove back, and he did it again. And I gave him that push back, but then he knocked my phone out of my hand. So he's the one that pushed me first. He's the one that assaulted me first for no reason. It's not like I was actually trying to assault anybody. That's not my purpose.
Right.
I'm just trying to get capture of Maggie Hassan on camera while I'm telling her she's a warmonger.
Yeah, and you do live streaming. You can follow his channel over at Breaking the Flaw. He's on Odyssey and still has a channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
Definitely
YouTube.
follow him on Odyssey. And so check him out there. There's lots of cool stuff that you do in general. But so last night you're out there. There's apparently some sort of interaction you had at some point with campus security. What happened there?
Okay, well, I guess I should give some pretext to this too. Is that when I first got there was one officer, and he said to me,
police or campus security?
Police. And he said to me, you're not welcome in there, like at the building.
Mm-hmm.
You're being trespassed. I'm like, I'm being trespassed? No one's even told me. The first time I just talked to you, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing happened. I just was talking to the cop. He's like, you're gonna be trespassed. Right, so he's like pretexting this, and I'm like, "Look, they never told me I was trespassed. If you communicate that to them, you're soliciting a trespass." And then guess what happens later? Exactly that. So I wouldn't. I talked to another officer, and he wouldn't let me in an area where a lot of news was with their cameras and just people in the public just walking around, and like there was people holding signs, and they were just the show, right? Like they were the ones that for the photo op, but there was. Right. People with cameras. They're the ones taking the pictures of the photo op. And so the police officer would not let me over there at first. And then he said, oh, you can go there to go on the grass. And then I went back over and I was like, hey, what? I don't understand. You're letting all these other people roam with their cameras in here. How come you're not letting me?
Oh, I know why. Your camera's not big enough.
Oh, no. There was other people with phone cameras.
Oh,
like
really?
Chow Kelly.
Oh,
right?
So
She's taking photos. Yeah, she's the one that got my first video that I saw afterwards.
Right.
And one of the things is here is that
do you think they knew who you were?
There's a possibility. I don't know. But what was it? So one of the officers said, if you go over there, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. And I was like, look, you need to get.
Was this the same one who threatened you with trespass? Same officer?
Well, he had already said if you go over there, you'll be trespassed.
I see.
Right? So I haven't been trespassed
yet. You had not yet been told to leave.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then he called over, like, I said, I'm being trespassed? Like, I want to talk to someone about it. And then he goes, he calls over the security, and the security is telling me I was trespassed, right? And as soon as he told me that, I told my words to him, and I left the property. Like, I was on my way out. I walked out, and then almost immediately after this is when Bolduc took the corner and came over to the sidewalk where I was, and he was like, in that area, you got the campus, and then you got the sidewalk, and that's where I went. And if the cops, this is the thing, I never went like all the way to the curb, right? Like to the curb. I do believe I was in public, and I still think so because the way that the sidewalks are, right? But like when I'm saying curb, I mean like the road curb, right? Not the one that angles into the property there. Now there's still some public easement there that you're allowed to be on, and that's still considered public. So all right, so I'm just trying to make that clear because the cops noticed that I only went so far, which is on the sidewalk, and so they didn't tell me to move again at this point, right? Like where I was and where I ended up getting arrested. Bolduc took the corner. He's like doing a little jog, so I did a little jog over to him as well. And as soon as I got over to him, I said, "You suck. Don't go to war." That's what I said to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, he's like, pointing finger at me and saying,
I don't think you got all the words out before he started pointing at you.
So what were
No,
you,
I don't
2
think so
feet
either.
away from him? Hi, everybody.
By the way, Reed Coverdale joining us.
Yeah, I was right next to him, like a couple feet away from him, but I never touched him.
No,
I never made contact with him.
Your
either.
left hand, you kind of had almost behind your back too. It was like down by your side.
Yes.
I'm assuming you've done this type of stuff a lot. So.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I hold my ground.
Yeah,
I let I'll take the first punch kind of thing, right? Right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm violent, and I really don't want to defend myself because I don't want to get attacked, right? So
sure.
But I will if I have to.
In your right hand, you had your camera.
Yes.
Right? And then, as you said, Reed, in his left hand, he had nothing, but it was basically behind his
I was
back.
mostly keeping my pants up, I think.
It's very clear, and there's multiple angles that have come out of this this footage. You can see it over at freekeen.com right now. It's on the YouTube. It's on the Odyssey. It's right on the front page of the blog. And we're going to continue with this discussion because Bolduc points at you, immediately.
Yes.
And the police start running over, and then you get arrested.
Yes.
Even though you didn't ever touch him, and it turns out he elbowed you. We're going to continue here in moments. And this is Free Talk Live. The number 603-283-6160. You can join us. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. The former cricket star was shot in the leg when gunfire erupted at a rally he was about to address in the city of Wazirabad. One person died and another 9 were reportedly injured. FSN's Neha Punia, observing events from our New Delhi bureau, says tensions between the former Prime Minister and the Pakistani military have been running high, with some of Mr. Khan's supporters suggesting there may be a link.
There are some allegations that he fell out with the Pakistani army that's believed to be very powerful and having stake in how the government is run in Pakistan. But of course, Pakistani officials have denied all of this. But his side continues to maintain that there is political motivation and that the Shehbaz Sharif government, along with foreign actors, have a part to play.
A suspect caught at the scene has now been shown on Pakistani television confessing to the attack and telling police he was hoping to kill the former Prime Minister, but it's not known under what circumstances that video was obtained. In other news today, the pound suffered another sharp drop against the US dollar after the Bank of England raised interest rates in the UK by 75 basis points. The bank also warned the country is facing its longest recession since the 1920s. The British government conceded that families are facing very tough times, with the bank's action setting the base interest rate at 3%. Danny Blanchflower, a former member of the bank's Monetary Policy Committee, thinks its current members made the wrong move today.
Mortgage prices have risen up. People can't pay their bills. Unemployment is set to rise, and firms are going to close, and people's spending is going to collapse because the consumer confidence is on the floor. So this is precisely the wrong thing to do. They should be cutting rates, not raising them.
The Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid has conceded defeat in Israel's general election. The way is now clear for former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a coalition of right-wing parties to try and form a government. Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter before the week is out. That's 50% of the company's workforce. From FSN's Bureau bureau in New York. Gabrielle Farmi reports.
In the last couple of days, managers at Twitter had to make lists of who to keep and who to fire in their departments. There are now 3,700 workers targeted, with layoffs expected Friday around midday. One of Musk's first moves as owner was to fire the CEO and other top executives. He's under pressure to slash costs of a business for which he says he overpaid. He made his $44 billion bid to buy Twitter just as the markets began to tumble in the spring. Musk also plans to charge $8 a month for users to keep that blue verified checkmark, and that feature could go live as early as Monday.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. The phones are open and you can join us here. We're talking about what is now maybe an international news story. It's certainly national. It's going out everywhere. That a Senate candidate was allegedly attacked last night by a libertarian activist. Well, that very libertarian activist happens to be our very own Joa from Breaking the Flaw, and he's here with us tonight, although he has stepped away, I believe, to do a media interview because the phone has been ringing fairly often today. It's not the biggest blow-up that I've ever seen in my history here. I mean, certainly we've had some big events that have gone international with news coverage, but this one's decently large. And I asked Joe, I said, "Have you ever had any coverage that's this level?" And he said no. Like he's been his picture has been up on like Fox News and major media, and of course, along with straight up lies about what he did last night. And it's Ian and Reed here in the studio tonight. We're going to continue that discussion. But I do want to also let you know and thank KC Masterpiece, who is a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS program. KC is a gold level supporter. He's contributing, or she is contributing $10 a month to the AMPS program. amps.freetalklive.com is how you can go and help us advertise, market, promote, and support what we do here, which is, of course, talking about the ideas of liberty every single night on broadcast radio and podcast and live stream. So thank you, KC, for that. amps.freetalklive.com. So we were just getting into the discussion of what happened last night, and Joe is going to rejoin us here in a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about what you did last night, Reed, because you were in like ultra troll mode with these Republicans. Now, Bonnie and I got there a little bit after this thing kind of started. Joe said he arrived at like 4 o'clock. What time did you get there?
I was the second one there. I was there at like 4:15, right after Joa.
And he said there was already a ton of these Bolduc.
I'd say half of them that were ultimately there, half of them were already there around 4.
That's amazing to me. I thought for sure you guys were going to beat them there, but no.
And then there was this moment, I don't think you were there yet, when they were lined up behind caution tape, and it was a reserved area that they weren't allowed to go into. And then once it was like 5 o'clock or something, they were like 3, 2, 1, and then they let everyone run, and they all raced over there together, trampling each other, and to get in a good photo op position. It was really weird because especially since it didn't end up even being where most of the pictures were taken because Bolduc got out right where we were.
Yeah.
People slowly started trickling in, and then Joa, he had a Bluetooth speaker that we could hook up to my phone. And I have the clip from Fox News of Don Bolduc wanting to go to war with Russia and China.
Right, we played that a couple weeks ago on this show. He is just absolutely out of his mind. This is the one where he was actually rebuked by the Pentagon itself and some other Republicans.
Yeah, Corey Lewandowski, Trump advisor. He was too hawkish for Trump and the Pentagon.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have a different strategy than Joa. At least initially, I was trying to have friendly conversations with some of the supporters, and a lot of them were earnestly telling me that Don Bolduc is not pro-war. He just isn't. And so
you're having one-on-one conversations at this point. Mean, did you like walk over to where they were?
They were actually walking over to me.
Oh, okay.
And I get ridiculous if I'm treated ridiculously is basically how I do these things. So if people want to talk, I'll talk. If they start yelling at me, I'll just be obnoxious back to them. But anyway, a lot of them were saying Don Bolduc is not pro-war. And so then I thought, man, I had a loudspeaker with me that I just brought for speaking through. But then I realized if we put this Bluetooth speaker up to the loudspeaker, it was incredibly loud and would reach, everybody could hear it. So I just found this clip of Don that I had, and I just played it over and over and over, probably like 20 or 30 times.
I was amazed at how well that was working. I mean, knowing that, I've had some experience with these megaphones, and usually they suck at getting being heard, but this thing was cranking. I mean, it was really audible. It was easy to hear. You didn't even have to point it at somebody for them to really hear what it was saying.
Yeah, and it was funny the first couple times I played it, because I was just playing like the worst 30 seconds of it. They were chanting USA back at me to kind of drown it out. And I was thinking to myself, guys, I don't have to exert any effort here. Like, I'm just holding this thing up. So I let them chant the first couple times, then they got sick of it, and I just played it over and over and over again. And I was seeing it on their faces, because, they're Republicans, so when it's the Chi-Coms, we got to take out China, there's still a little bit of like, yeah, let's go get him. But when they hear him saying, like, we need to lead the world in supporting Zelensky and the Ukrainians, you could see it on their faces. They're like, ugh.
And go, quote unquote, all in
on Ukraine. Oh yeah, and I just played it over and over, and then I played it when he showed up too. Even everyone was cheering. In the video, you can't hear it that audibly, but in real life, it was still pretty easy to hear, even with everybody cheering and everything. But I was having so much fun, because it was just like, oh, you don't believe me? Well, hear it from the man himself. And he has a very distinct voice. It's obviously
they
him.
Knew it was him.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the things we've seen with some of the video footage of Joa allegedly attacking Bolduc is just a lot of just straight up denial, right? A lot of these people see what they want to see. Oh, yeah, it looked like he was about to hit him. I mean, there's been some ridiculous things that were said, or you can't see what happens when everybody crushes in, so that's probably when he hit him, even though it was like cops that were literally
obvious.
In the middle between the two of them. So anyway, you were playing this audio. At that point, it seemed like it ended the conversations, right? Like, were there any other Republicans that actually talked to you after that?
No. I mean, I started doing that probably an hour and a half or 2 hours into the whole deal. So there were so many people, and it was just the most effective way to get anything done at that point. So, yeah, not too many conversations happened after that.
Yeah, it was a lot of noise when Bonnie and I arrived, because you were playing the audio, and then they were chanting, which, of course, just makes it so hard to think. The crew from NBC News was there. There's a couple of reporters that are doing like a multi-part series on the Free State Project, and they've been doing this for most of the last year, and they finally had met up with me earlier in that day. They were here at the studio recording an interview with me, and then they were there at this particular event, and they had mic'd me up and were like, well, we're going to take you over here and we'll ask some questions. So we'd walked away, and just the chants were just, it was so hard to answer their questions and like make coherent points, because it just is so, the mindlessness, it's hard to
I was honestly
think.
impressed, because there all these guys, like the Maggie Hassan and Don Bolduc supporters, were mixed together, because they all run. Weird. They'd all at the 3, 2, 1 go thing, so they'd all ended up mixed together. There were people holding signs over their heads for
like 2
hours. I mean, they must have switched out or something, but it's like, what are you guys doing? Like, why don't you just sit down and wait till the cameras show up, because that's all you care about? Because after that was done, everybody this time, so last time in Concord, the Democrats had obviously been artificial, and the 2 Bolduc supporters who showed up, I believe, were very genuine, legit. Here, it was both campaigns had vans that everyone threw the signs into, and then I think it was the Bolduc campaign, someone just yelled, the shuttle is on the other side of the building, so make sure we rendezvous over there to, so...
Now, I don't think that necessarily means that they were coming from Massachusetts or something.
Of course.
I think that like what that probably means is they knew parking was going to suck at this location, and so they probably just parked in some other lot and then shuttled over.
But just to say, like, there were, I don't know how many of us there were. There were probably 10 or 12 of us.
Yeah.
But we all drove there individually and, had our signs.
Parking
or
was a challenge.
It was for sure.
So the amount of people out there was fairly significant. Eventually, Hassan shows up, and she was the first to arrive. She just kind of like shook a few hands and went immediately inside. Bolduc arrives, and he's working the crowd. He gets out of his SUV and just starts running up and down and shaking everybody's hands. And he definitely is he's an effective politician, right?
For sure.
He's a smooth operator, and you don't get to be a general in the U.S. military without being a politician. That is a political position. You have to play politics to get promoted to those levels. So he knows what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bolduc is an awful warmongering psychopath, and so is Hassan. But based purely on their performance, Bolduc 100% deserves to win this election. Like, he's put so much more work, and he plays the crowd way better. She's so boring. She shows up and gets pushed away. He plays it with the crowd and everything. So
the number here tonight, 603-283-6160. Just because you're saying he deserves it doesn't mean you agree that he should be elected.
Of course not. I'm just saying based on performance.
Yeah. And if we only had a chance to see Jeremy perform in the debate, but they won't let him in.
Exactly.
So more coming up. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Dine with Seinfeld's parents. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. You can still afford to dine out occasionally by shopping smart. As they do at Del Boca Vista, eat early. In restaurant lingo, you are in the first turn. A certain oyster bar my wife and I like offers buck a shuck before 6 p.m. Other tips? Opt in if your favorite spot has an email list. They'll tout specials. Have dessert at home. It and drinks are restaurants' most profitable items, and every add-on adds up to the tip. Members actually bother reading what AAA and AARP send you. You're entitled to a discount at some restaurants. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. The phones are open here. You can join the show. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're talking about what transpired last night in front of the debate, quote unquote.
Yes.
Between two warmongers, basically. But what happened outside of that debate is what was most interesting. Reed, you were telling me off the air the debate was terribly boring, which of course is what you would expect from politicians, mainstream politicians. They of course didn't let the actual interesting candidate, the principled candidate, Libertarian Jeremy Kauffman, into the debate, who's made incredible waves online with his amazing ad campaigns.
It's blatant anti-Semitism, let's just be real.
Clearly. It is. He's Jewish, by the way. But what transpired outside was very interesting. There were about a dozen liberty activists there, Libertarian Party of New Hampshire supporters. People had Jeremy Kauffman signs. Reed, you had a megaphone playing clips of this General Don Bolduc and the things he has said that prove that he is pro-war, that he is a warmonger, because he has claimed, apparently, that he's not in favor of war.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, that clip is from February, and that's what his supporters will point to. But last night in the debate, he and Maggie Hassan were arguing over who wanted to stay in Afghanistan longer, as if it were a good thing. So Maggie, he says, he blames Maggie Hassan and Joe Biden for making us look weak by withdrawing from Afghanistan. And her response to him is, nuh-uh, I didn't want to leave Afghanistan. In fact, I protested against Joe Biden. And then he's like, no, you didn't. It's just like,
oh, yeah?
When Joe Biden is the anti-war comparison you're making to yourself, you're not in a good place.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Right, because what you're saying is the Bolduc supporters were claiming, oh, well, he just said that back in February, and now he's gone completely, anti-war.
He's had a change of heart or something.
Get real.
But you go on his website, it still says, like, we need to get tough on China, and we need to go after rogue nations like Iran and North Korea. Yeah. So what happens is the war in Ukraine, luckily, is losing favor with a lot of Republicans, which is a good thing. But so his handlers are telling him, hey, man, you got to chill on this like Ukraine war stuff. But you still get it out of him. Like in the debate last night, he said the problem with Ukraine is we didn't draw enough of a red line and we didn't show enough strength. So we needed to be tougher. I mean, what does that mean? Like overthrowing their government 8 years ago and pumping weapons and money into the Ukraine over the last 8 years. That's not enough. We got to do more, man.
So outside of the event, Joey, you had been warned, apparently, to leave the property because trespass. They didn't want you.
I was formally trespassed by the security of the campus.
Right. The cops told you had to go.
And I left.
And so you walked off. You're now like out by the sidewalk, and you're kind of like also occupying the part of the road that goes into the campus. But that would still be, I think, qualified as the sidewalk, right? Like
it's
the public area
of that. It's considered public way. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And then this Don Bolduc arrives. He's running up and down and like greeting all his supporters, and then he makes a beeline for the corner near where you are at.
Well, he was jogging over, and I jogged over at the same point where I saw him stopping, and I stopped right there, and I said, "You suck, you suck. Don't go to war."
Right. That was it. And by the time you hadn't even
short,
finished,
concise, and to the point. I like it.
You hadn't even finished the words coming out of your mouth before he starts pointing at you, and I couldn't make it out from any of the clips. Do you remember what he said? Like, what did he yell at the cops?
I don't remember. I haven't released my footage yet.
And I saw you reviewing the footage. I saw you reviewing the footage on a live stream, and I didn't hear it there either. It was very hard to understand.
The only things I remember him saying is, he hit me. He hit me. He hit me. He hit me. He hit me like 4 or 5 times. I think a couple times this year he assaulted.
On the video that I released over at freekeen.com, it's very clear. You can hear him say that at least 3 times.
Yes.
And there's a couple where you can kind of hear it, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I didn't title those. And this is like pointing at you, claiming that you hit him, but then the slow-mo video actually shows, and you can see it.
And this was a very chaotic scene, and I don't really remember when, firsthand knowledge in the situation, what exactly was going on, because my eyes were somewhere else.
Sure.
When that elbow came at me, and then I got basically chest to chest with a couple of his supporters right after he elbowed me. So the first person to assault me was Don Bolduc.
So did they hit you with that flag, or did it not really hit you?
No, actually, I believe that flag started like wailing like that because the cops were trying to pull them off. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, it didn't look like that really was a hard hit when the flag hit.
Right,
I
and you should have seen how, like, so you watch, if you guys all got to see this video over at Free Keen on YouTube or Odyssey, and you see, like, the cops come in, and one of the cops, like, basically, like, tackles Don Bolduc. Like,
no, he grabbed him.
Yeah, he kind of grabbed him. He was kind of like a bear hug, kind of like moved him for a moment. But it was kind of like a tackle. That's how I kind of looked at it. And then kind of moved him off to the side, and they pulled those two attackers on me off. They pulled them off, and then they proceeded to arrest me.
You.
Yeah. Let's arrest the guy getting assaulted, not arrest the people assaulting.
Because Nolan and we saw it all. I think we probably saw the guys coming at you before you even saw it.
No, yeah, because they snuck between the signs. I didn't really see them coming. As soon as I saw their face, they were in my face.
Nolan and I were just both like, whoa, because we were right across where we'd been standing all night, and we saw the old guy with the flag. He was ready to kill you. Like his look on his face.
This was their chance to defend their general.
Yeah, right.
They stepped up.
Yeah.
And this one guy, did both of them put hands on you, or was it just the one guy who kept pushing?
Did he put hands on you?
I believe two of them actually were like, well, I think, see, I don't remember. It happened so quick, but I thought I remember like his hands up on my chest and like he grabbed my shirt.
Chest,
yeah,
sure.
It
More
felt
than
like
once, I
that's
think.
what happened. I'm not really 100% sure on that because it happened so quick.
Yeah.
But then when you watch in the video, one of the guys comes up to me and bumps me again. He bumps me in the chest, like he's like, ooh, ooh, you know.
He's a
You can
tough
imagine
guy.
that. Yeah.
USA.
Coward.
Yeah.
We heard that a lot last night.
Because Joe wants to speak.
And they were chanting it, by the way, as Joe was being arrested.
Oh,
the
yeah.
USA
It's
chant
incredible.
began during that, and they're, of course, applauding and like cheering on the police for protection.
Yeah, it was epic.
And it was also interesting later on today. You had statements from both Bolduc and Hassan, who came out to back Don Bolduc in this whole situation. Rather than sharing the video of what really happened to try to undermine her opponent, she used it as an excuse to talk about how she supports the police too, and she was so grateful the police were there.
Yeah, that's because we're controlled opposition for Maggie Hassan to make her win. You know, that's why that happened.
It's true. Oh my god! But see, like the thing is, too, is Maggie is on thin ice too because one of her security guards, I think I said this earlier, had assaulted me, whacked my phone out of my hand,
This
laid
was
it on the ground
last week. At a
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's like they're one and the same. The two wings of the same bird. Clearly, that's what they're working together behind scenes in some sort of fashion. And they like to pretend that they're actually
It's like
oppositions.
pro wrestling.
But
It's
it doesn't
really-
matter which one wins.
Yeah.
They're both pro-war,
whoever
pro-taxes,
wins, we
anti-gun.
lose.
I'm so sick of this caricature that the Republicans have become more anti-authoritarian since
ridiculous.
January 6th. Like,
you got to thank the Free States.
they hate cops now, and they love liberty, and they're anti-war. I mean,
It's all going to shift as soon as they get control again.
Yeah, exactly.
There will be no more calls to abolish the FBI.
That's right.
oh yeah, of course not. I mean, they were in charge. They had a super majority. 6 years ago now? Until 5 years ago,
And
yeah.
then they also had it in the George Bush administration.
Yeah,
They
don't
don't
most
do
presidents
anything.
win for being anti-war? Like Bush
yeah,
was
dude, every
anti-war.
single one. Even
Obama was
Woodrow
anti-war.
Wilson?
Even Joe Biden was like promising to end the war in Yemen when he was running. Like, I mean, every time it's the anti-war candidate that wins. So maybe we should be Maybe we should be learning from this.
Yeah,
maybe we should vote for the pro-war candidate. And then
Yeah,
they'll end up
I'm going to
being
be voting
anti-war.
Bolduc at the end.
No, you're not.
Ian, don't tell me what to do.
I'm predicting.
You're predicting accurate. It's an accurate prediction.
So the cops rush in. They quote unquote break up what was going on when in reality you never even touched this guy. You didn't even try.
They
to
kept
touch
everyone
this guy.
safe, as Maggie Hassan said.
Right. Except for me.
Yeah, you were assaulted in front, or battered, I guess is the legal term, right? Assault, it can just simply be a threat, but a battery is where somebody lays hands on you.
Right.
That happened to you. You didn't batter anybody, but
Nope.
yet the handcuffs go on you.
So
and
I get further assaulted because those are torture cuffs.
Yeah,
They're torturing.
They then charged you with criminal trespass, even though you were still like on the street.
Right, I'm on the street and they charge me for they arrest me for trespass,
Near
and then
the
they
sidewalk.
drag me onto the property they want to trespass me from.
Right. and held you there for a
Well,
long
because
time.
I think the reason why they did that was for visual. So, as in, they don't want some guy in handcuffs to be standing right there on the road, in front of this whole debate. Let's drag him behind the building, make it kind of like hush hush. That's what that was about.
Well, plus they could parade you in front of all the onlookers then, and
Yeah. That was part of it too. This was a humiliating. It was humiliating, but like what they were trying to do. But it really wasn't humiliating.
No,
I was like,
fun.
hell yeah, here we go.
We're going to continue here. Why didn't they charge him with assault or battery if Don Bolduc was begging for it? He kept saying, he hit me. He hit me.
Yeah.
But they didn't charge you with that. There's more coming up here in moments. This is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. The former cricket star was shot in the leg when gunfire erupted at a rally he was about to address in the city of Wazirabad. One person died and another 9 were reportedly injured. FSN's Neha Punia, observing events from our New Delhi bureau, says tensions between the former Prime Minister and the Pakistani military have been running high, with some of Mr. Khan's supporters suggesting there may be a link.
There are some allegations that he fell out with the Pakistani army that's believed to be very powerful and having stake in how the government is run in Pakistan. But of course, Pakistani officials have denied all of this. But his side continues to maintain that there is political motivation and that the Shehbaz Sharif government, along with foreign actors, have a part to play.
A suspect caught at the scene has now been shown on Pakistani television confessing to the attack and telling police he was hoping to kill the former Prime Minister, but it's not known under what circumstances that video was obtained. In other news today, the pound suffered another sharp drop against the US dollar after the Bank of England raised interest rates in the UK by 75 basis points. The bank also warned the country is facing its longest recession since the 1920s. The British government conceded that families are facing very tough times, with the bank's action setting the base interest rate at 3%. Danny Blanchflower, a former member of the bank's Monetary Policy Committee, thinks its current members made the wrong move today.
Mortgage prices have risen up. People can't pay their bills. Unemployment is set to rise, and firms are going to close, and people's spending is going to collapse. because the consumer confidence is on the floor. So this is precisely the wrong thing to do. They should be cutting rates, not raising them.
The Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid has conceded defeat in Israel's general election. The way is now clear for former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a coalition of right-wing parties to try and form a government. Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter before the week is out. That's 50% of the company's workforce. From FSN's bureau in New York, Gabrielle Farmi reports.
In the last couple of days, managers at Twitter had to make lists of who to keep and who to fire in their departments. There are now 3,700 workers targeted, with layoffs expected Friday around midday. One of Musk's first moves as owner was to fire the CEO and other top executives. He's under pressure to slash costs of a business for which he says he overpaid. He made his $44 billion bid to buy Twitter just as the markets began to tumble in the spring. Musk also plans to charge $8 a month for users to keep that blue verified check mark, and that feature could go live as early as Monday.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more today on the outcome of Israel's election and Benjamin Netanyahu's efforts to form a new coalition government with other right-wing parties. What will his return to power presage for Israel's relationship with the United States, led as it is now by President Joe Biden, hardly Mr. Netanyahu's political soulmate? Elad Simchayoff is a UK-based correspondent for Channel 12 in Israel.
I think it will be much more difficult for Benjamin Netanyahu dealing with a liberal Democrat American president. We saw his clashing with Obama, which is very close to President Biden, and now even more so than before, because if you look at the potential coalition, it will be much more right-wing, extremist, ultra-orthodox. He will have a partner named Itamar Ben-Gvir, and he's very right-wing, extremist. So this coalition will be a lot harder for the American Democrats and even for European to deal with. I think Benjamin Netanyahu knows that.
He argues it's a measure of how far to the right Israeli politics may be about to turn, that in the upcoming coalition, Benjamin Netanyahu could be the most left-leaning member, which of course in and of itself torpedoes any hopes of settlement negotiations with the Palestinians and will indeed have impacts for Israel on the global stage. The main news again, Prime Minister Yair Lapid has now conceded defeat in Israel's general election, meaning Benjamin Netanyahu will form the country's next government. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. He was shot in the leg as he prepared to address a rally. And Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter. That's half the workforce before the week is out. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
According to a report released Monday, Americans currently lead the world in compressing big sandwiches into sufficiently biteable sizes, outranking countries such as Germany, Slovenia, and Ukraine in their sheer capacity to squeeze BLTs, meatball subs, and grinders into shapes that will easily and efficiently fit into their open mouths. Researchers pointed out that in series after series of tests, Americans consistently topped international rankings by implementing over 800 pounds per square inch of compressive force on sandwich categories as diverse as banh mi, croque monsieurs, or gyros, rarely hesitating for more than a moment before diving in and pushing the bread together and wedging it into their mouths.
Even in the cases in which Americans fail to sufficiently compress a sandwich and, say, dropped a stray piece of bacon or avocado, they still led the pack on quickly scooping up this topping with their hands and eating it, sometimes even inventively doing so with a stray potato chip or french fry.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and we're kicking off the second hour of the program. The phones are open. Should you wish to join us, we talk about the unending hypocrisy and warmongering of standard issue Democrat, Republican politicians. What happened last night at the debate here in New Hampshire? There's a Senate debate for a U.S. Senate seat here in New Hampshire between the incumbent and the challenger. The incumbent is Maggie Hassan. The challenger is a man named Don Bolduc. He's a general or former general within the U.S. military, I think the Army, if I recall correctly. And both of them are warmongers, and so some of the libertarian activists, including, well, all three of us, were out at this event last night, along with about a dozen liberty activists in total, there to support Jeremy Kauffman, the libertarian candidate who, of course, has been completely excluded from any kind of debate.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of the cacophony, the constant noise making of people chanting on the Democrat and the Republican side, and then the libertarians trying to respond with some actual intelligence. And like Reed, you were playing audio of what Don Bolduc has actually said on Fox News about wanting to basically go to war with Russia and China at the same time.
It was a very inconvenient clip for them to keep hearing over and over and over again.
Indeed, considering they believed he's not in favor of war, and so you were proving them wrong. Meanwhile, Bolduc arrives after Hassan already arrived and went right inside, basically. Bolduc arrives, and he's starting to work the crowd. He's shaking hands. He's got plenty of time, by the way. These people arrived well before 7 o'clock because you were under arrest by 7 o'clock, Joa.
There's something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact time, but
yeah,
I think it was before that even.
I think it was a little before that because I think we got to the police department shortly after 7.
Yeah.
And so anyway, you Bolduc was kind of coming towards you, and you kind of met him when he ran up towards the sidewalk. You'd already been told you can't trespass on the campus earlier in the evening, and you weren't. You were still on basically the sidewalk area, but in the kind of the road part of that. You met him. You had a few words with him about being anti-war, and he immediately turns to the police, points you out. It's hard to see in the video or hear what exactly he might have yelled towards them, which is unfortunate because I would have loved to have heard that. But it's almost seemed like this was orchestrated to some extent, and that's Well,
I felt like he was definitely trying to incite his supporters to further assault me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he's saying, he hit me, he hit me. Well, why are you yelling that multiple times in front of the police and your supporters other than to grab the attention so that I could be further tortured and assaulted?
At the very least, what you're saying is he wanted his thugs, not the police.
Well, they're thugs too, and they're his thugs too. They're Yeah, exactly.
Some people say the police are backing Bolduc as well, but he wanted his the randos that were at this event, his supporters with the signs. He wanted them to do what they did, which was they crashed through the signs and then they started to attack you.
Right, and this is why I said when I went to file assault charges against him today down at the police station,
the same police that arrested you.
That's correct. The same place I would have to go to. That's why when I said to him, he was inciting violence. By saying this, by doing this, by already assaulting me, supporting his supporters assaulting me, and then saying, he hit me, he hit me. Well, why are you saying that like that? Only for more retaliation and more violence on me.
Yeah, he backed his elbow into you. It's crystal clear on the video, which you can see right now at freekeen.com. I took a slow-mo. I zoomed in the video. I played it more than once.
Good.
Made sure you could really see it.
Let that sink into all those Bolduc supporters.
And then it was after he elbowed you that he then acted like he was hurt, and he grabs his back arm, which is part of where he hit you with, it looked like.
Also, it's the opposite side from where the people bumped into him.
Right,
because they kind of bumped into his his back left shoulder or something. And so then he grabs here, even if they...
Honestly, I don't care if he was hurt. You know why I don't care that he was hurt? Because I did not do it.
Yeah, no, you didn't. And that the video is
At
crystal
least
clear.
The guy with the American flag is the one that came after you, not the guy with the Gadsden flag, because that would have hurt a little bit. It would have been like, dude, what are you doing?
Yep. So that's what happened. They then put handcuffs on you and charged you with disorderly conduct, so-called.
Well,
which
actually,
is your favorite.
no, they arrested me originally for trespass. And then they told me at the station while they're processing me, he gets the officer gets a phone call. He's like, oh yeah, okay, we're tacking that on too.
Oh,
so they got soon when I got there, because they knew they had nothing. They know I wasn't trespassing, so now they're gonna get me for disorderly.
That's their go-to. It's their favorite charge.
It's a butthurt
if
charge.
you're ever arrested for activism, you're almost guaranteed to get hit with disorderly conduct.
Yeah, what's interesting is some people were saying I wasn't allowed to have a megaphone there, but I was blasting with it all night, and the cops never said anything. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, maybe they'll just tack that on later.
Yeah. Also, use of megaphone. Yeah.
So let's see. You were then taken away as we mentioned before, you're kind of paraded in front of
the whole
they
crowd.
Cuffed you,
Yep.
paraded in front of the whole crowd, taken kind of back around to the side where no one was around. It was like back where the TV truck was. But there was no TV there.
And that's when Jeremy showed up.
Jeremy Kaufman, who was like late to the party, and now he didn't think he was going to be late because the event didn't start until 8:00.
Right.
But the candidates had gone in before 7, and that's when, as soon as the candidates went in, the supporters just cleared out. It was over. So, like, Jeremy had come with his loudspeaker that he had last week at the NHPR, and he was heckling. It was a really entertaining video that you made last week, Joe, on your channel.
Oh, thank you.
Breaking the Flaw. But Jeremy's like heckling these people with a loudspeaker and a microphone. So he had his loudspeaker ready, and then he comes in. You're being arrested. He's like, okay, I'm late.
I guess I did my job. He's like, I did my work here. No, let me make this clear. I do not work for Jeremy. I support him. Actually, I haven't had like super conversations with Jeremy. Like I've barely had much of a conversation. Maybe a few months ago we sat and talked a little bit, but that was non-political. It was just had to do with his Odyssey and of his business. And nothing really. I just support his message. I think it's the satirical, I agree. Political message he's getting out is waking people up.
I don't know how much it's waking people up. Maybe it is. I hope it is. I mean, that certainly would be ideal. But I just love a candidate that doesn't take the system seriously.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not only is he coming at it from a satirical standpoint, he's got funny messaging that's entertaining and it's getting shared. But even though he says, I'm serious, we know he's not, and it's quite clear.
I actually do believe he's serious. I actually maybe the satirical ad isn't really serious, and you're mocking it by saying I'm serious.
Yeah.
But I do believe he's seriously running.
No, he is.
Okay,
He's
right,
seriously raising money. He's trying to get on the ballot. He's doing all the things you're supposed to do to be a political candidate, but he doesn't take the system seriously.
No,
he doesn't care.
Exactly.
What people think about him, and he doesn't care about the decorum of the system, and that's one of the reasons why they certainly don't want him on the stage.
If anything, that makes you taking it more seriously. Anyways, if you're going along with the clay mold of what they all want you to be, you're not serious. You're not really caring about America and liberty and freedom. When you're making a joke out of it, and people seem to pay attention more about it. That seems like you're taking it really seriously. That people really want to, they want to hear this. They want to hear a real, true message. And you throw a little bit of retard and gay in there, and it makes the whole world great.
So he shows up. You're already in handcuffs at this time, and most of us, I don't think everybody, but like maybe half the group of libertarians had kind of followed you back there with the people with cameras. I think mostly followed you back there as they were taking you back, and then Jeremy comes up and he kind of like gives an impromptu speech about how this is wrong what they're doing to you, and the cops just sort of stood there for a while with you, and you were just kind of debating them about the circumstances of the arrest, and they just didn't have that much to say. It was a really awkward situation.
I was like, did you see it? Did you see it? And they're like, no, we didn't see it. I'm like, oh, is you just going to take someone's word for it? This is a non-arrestable offense then.
Yeah, how can they arrest you for trespassing if they didn't witness you trespass?
Oh,
Isn't that a requirement for trespass?
But you know what's funny, though? They're liars. And I'll tell you why they're liars. Because I saw video footage of them watching it all happen. So you're going to lie to my face like that? You've lost trust in the community. You should be...
Wait, what were they saying they didn't see?
They said they didn't see me trespassing.
That's what yeah, right. So isn't it a requirement? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, right?
Right.
But isn't it a requirement that first you have to be warned by somebody authorized to tell you can't stay on the property?
And I did. I was.
And then the police would have to see you on that property in order to make that arrest.
And technically, they would have to have escorted me off the property, which they didn't do. And they didn't. They made this arbitrary line, which I don't know if it's the property or not, but I definitely went to the sidewalk. I went to public property.
More coming up here. You can join us. I want to get to the news coverage aspect of this, which has been ridiculous, coming up.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. We're talking about the just ridiculous mainstream media, mainstream politicians, their supporters. It all came together last night, and Joa ended up in handcuffs as a result of a lying politician named General Don Bolduc, who is currently running for New Hampshire, or rather U.S. Senate here in New Hampshire. We're going to continue with that story because there's a lot to talk about. We haven't even really gotten into the media coverage aspect of this, which is one of the most ridiculous parts about it. But Bitcoin.com is a great source for learning about cryptocurrencies. So if you're ready to start learning about crypto, get over to Bitcoin.com. and click on Get Started at the top of the page. You can learn about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash there, and they'll go over some of the basics. And you really ought to understand some of the newer ideas that are coming into play, like decentralization and taking the power of money out of the hands of those who have always controlled it, like the big bankers and governments of the world. That's the real benefit, or one of them, behind cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So go to bitcoin.com and click Get Started at the top of the page. Plus, you can get the latest news headlines any old time you want in the world of cryptocurrency by going to news.bitcoin.com. That is news.bitcoin.com. Now, some news agencies are better than others, and we've certainly seen that playing out in the last 24 hours.
Well, I want to bring up one real quick, because this is like one that I just really dove onto because it's a very conservative website, Breitbart.
Okay.
So if you go to Breitbart right now, top article, right at the top.
You're still at the top.
Well, technically, the article changed, but it's mentioned. The incident is mentioned.
Mhm.
But this is really funny. It says, Obama warns demonizing opponents lead to violence as Biden calls for Republicans' threat to democracy. Okay? But if you scroll down, they give a list of alleged attacks, right? And at the, let's see, 1, 2, 3 from the bottom, they mention a physical attack on New Hampshire Republican nominee for Senate, Don Bolduc, allegedly by a local libertarian. And that's listed along with murders, bitings, beatings, threats, bombings, stabbings, murder, riotings, let's see, shooting. Yeah. Did I, Ian, you were there. Did I do anything like that?
No, you didn't even touch the dude.
You pretty violently held your hand down at your waist, like sort of behind your back. And,
well, the camera is the new gun.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
24 frames per second or whatever. Yeah.
30.
I shoot 30 frames per second. 1080p.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the mainstream media got a hold of this last night. I mean, I don't know. Was there much else to say? Should we talk about your getting arrested and then going to the police station? Was there anything you wanted to share from your police station experience?
No,
it's pretty
just
standard
I actually
booking.
was extremely surprised. There was way more people than I expected to be there.
Yeah.
If anyone's seen Rambo First Blood, that was basically what. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, you guys didn't break me out? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, they actually, I would say generally they were the police were respectable about it. They took the cuffs off right away.
Oh, really?
Yep. I tried to refuse my name and my identifiers or whatever. But then they threatened me to put me in Valley Street, which is
the worst jail in New Hampshire.
Oh, absolutely. And I've had people message me saying I've been poisoned. They poisoned me.
Oh my gosh.
And so I don't want to be in there.
Inmates die at that jail.
You also would have missed Free Talk Live.
That's true.
Exactly.
That's true. Yeah.
And 2 days prior, like 3 days ago now, I actually audited the prison, so I don't think they were
Valley Street. You did?
Yeah, they still had me fresh in their mind too. And I'm sure that wouldn't have gone over well.
Well, maybe
with
they
them.
would have treated you well because since you're auditing them, they'd be like, "Oh, well, we'll try to throw them off the scent a little bit." But,
Inside audit in that case.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just you're going all in on your audit.
I'm not going unless I bring my camera.
So you then decided to give your name because you didn't want to go to the
yeah,
Valley
and
Street.
actually the bail commissioner was kind of like, "Yeah, you don't want to go there."
And I mean, a lot of people
as
know
in
that's
like
a bad
that's
place.
but that's kind of like showing a sign that the system is bad.
Yeah, it
like
is.
I said to him specifically, no, I am not identifying myself. I have not committed a crime. According to the law, I only have to identify if I've committed a crime. I don't believe I committed a crime. It's clear as day on video that I didn't commit a crime.
It is their obligation to identify you. And I told you the story about how Sam Dodson, who's a former co-host here on Free Talk Live, was arrested for something, I don't even remember what it was, in Keene years ago, and he refused to ID. And they called him John Doe. They booked him in the county jail, and he stayed there for 59 days, if I recall correctly, because he refused to identify himself. They knew who he was within the first 2 weeks because they figured it out, right? Like they did the investigation and they figured it out. But because he wouldn't tell the judge, he had to stay behind bars as John Doe, and he never told him the whole time. He never identified himself, and eventually they literally kicked him out the side door of the jail. They gave him the whole tub of all the stuff that he had in his jail cell, and he walked out with the orange jumpsuit on, which they're supposed to get that back, right? Like normally you're supposed to change out. You get the clothes back that you had on when you went into the jail, and they just literally pushed him out the side door, and that was the end of it.
So one other thing that
luckily
happened,
you didn't
though.
spend 59 days in
I actually,
Valley Street.
if it wasn't Valley Street and it was actually like Cheshire County, I probably would have sat in there.
Yeah.
I would. They know who I am. Keene PD knows who I am.
Sure.
I'm sure the courts and everything like that know who I am at this point. But the thing is, I do have one bail condition, and that's not oh, I can't trespass on the property. That's not what the bail commissioner, he didn't say anything about that. So technically I can go back on the property, but I'm not going to. I have no reason to go there, and they're crazy. But the only bail condition is I have to go back in, at the time, 72 hours to go back to get my fingerprints.
And you went back today, but it wasn't for that reason?
No. Like, come on. And maybe I'll super glue my fingers up before I go. They're not getting my biometrics. I told them, like, this is against my religion. You don't get my biometrics. I don't mind my
That's
picture.
an interesting objection. I've never heard that
You can take my
before.
picture because I go out in public, but you're not going to steal my fingerprints.
There's actually
you
people
could
who-
use that against me. As in, like, you could, like, plant my fingerprints on things.
I had
There you have mine. So
one of my roommates, he refused to have his picture taken when he went to go and vote. Because in New Hampshire, if you refuse to ID when you go and vote, they want to take your picture and like
Right.
fill out a form or whatever. And I'd never even heard this one before, and I thought it was brilliant. He said it's against his religion to have his photo taken. And then they said, well, then here's the religion form that you then can sign and opt out of actually having your photo taken. I thought, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But so I got to talk to my lawyer about that one. I don't know. I don't want to give him my fingerprints.
Yeah, you definitely should talk to him about that for sure, because
Yeah.
who knows what they're going to do to you.
Yeah, 2 more days.
Refusal to process could be, I don't know what that's going to result in, but
They released me already. They know who I am.
Yeah,
they
that's
know
true.
I haven't actually hit anybody or committed any crimes. This is just baloney at this point.
yeah, I'm
Like,
curious to
let's
what your
go.
lawyer will say to that. So the mainstream media picked up this story last night, not long after the debate had started. I think the story started to run because Don Bolduc's campaign staff started putting stories out there and quotes saying that you, Joa, had, or they didn't use your name in a lot of cases, a libertarian activist.
Yeah, well, some of them
They're
actually
all
said
wrong.
Maggie Hassan supporter
really?
at first, I think.
I'm okay
right?
with this.
Yeah.
That
was the goal all
No, I am.
along,
I'm
yeah.
a Maggie supporter. You hear that, everyone?
that you had, quote unquote, thrown a punch at Don
Yeah,
Bolduc.
he ducked a punch.
I gave him a big verbal punch.
I know I said this off air,
You
but
suck.
if he had actually like just decked you, I would have been more impressed than this whole like elbow thing. Like it's so lame, dude. Like if he's gonna go for you, he should have just knocked you out cold.
For real.
I would have
For real.
voted for him maybe after that. So.
Like, how do you even sneak an elbow in? Like, you
Yeah,
don't
that's what he was
sneak
trying
an
to
elbow
do.
in.
Yeah.
I know. Just punch me in the face next time, Don Bolduc.
He didn't want anyone to see. He figured in the fracas that was going on that he would be able to get a connection with you.
They don't know there's a bunch of liberty-minded people across the way with a bunch of cameras.
Apparently he didn't.
Don
know that.
Bolduc a punch.
There's more coming up here in moments. The number 603-283-6160.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. The former cricket star was shot in the leg when gunfire erupted at a rally he was about to address in the city of Wazirabad. One person died and another 9 were reportedly injured. FSN's Neha Punia, observing events from our New Delhi bureau, says tensions between the former Prime Minister and the Pakistani military have been running high, with some of Mr. Khan's supporters suggesting there may be a link.
There are some allegations that he fell out with the Pakistani army that's believed to be very powerful and having stake in how the government is run in Pakistan. But of course, Pakistani officials have denied all of this. But his side continues to maintain that there is political motivation and that the Shehbaz Sharif government, along with foreign actors, have a part to play.
A suspect caught at the scene has now been shown on Pakistani television confessing to the attack and telling police he was hoping to kill the former Prime Minister, but it's not known under what circumstances that video was obtained. In other news today, the pound suffered another sharp drop against the US dollar after the Bank of England raised interest rates in the UK by 75 basis points. The bank also warned the country is facing its longest recession since the 1920s. The British government conceded that families are facing very tough times, with the bank's action setting the base interest rate at 3%. Danny Blanchflower, a former member of the bank's Monetary Policy Committee, thinks its current members made the wrong move today.
Mortgage prices have risen up. People can't pay their bills. Unemployment is set to rise, and firms are going to close, and people's spending is going to collapse because the consumer confidence is on the floor. So this is precisely the wrong thing to do. They should be cutting rates, not raising them.
The Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid has conceded defeat in Israel's general election. The way is now clear for former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a coalition of right-wing parties to try and form a government. Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter before the week is out. That's 50% of the company's workforce. From FSN's bureau in New York, Gabrielle Farmi reports.
In the last couple of days, managers at Twitter had to make lists of who to keep and who to fire in their departments. There are now 3,700 workers targeted, with layoffs expected Friday around midday. One of Musk's first moves as owner was to fire the CEO and other top executives. He's under pressure to slash costs of a business for which he says he overpaid. He made his $44 billion bid to buy Twitter just as the markets began to tumble in the spring. Musk also plans to charge $8 a month for users to keep that blue verified check mark, and that feature could go live as early as Monday.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Phones are open. If you want to join the show, the number is 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, you've got Ian,
Reed, and Joa.
Don't forget you can join Reed for his own show, Naturalist Capitalist, and you'll find it over on his Odyssey channel. I think you've got a YouTube as well.
Yeah, right? So I upload things to YouTube, and then everything goes over to Odyssey. I just uploaded an episode before I came here about what happened last night.
Oh, great.
So it's probably not on Odyssey yet, but it will be soon. If you want to watch it now, go to YouTube.
Did you have a guess?
No, I just
one of the rare
solo episodes.
All right, cool. Check him out over at Naturalist Capitalist. If you want to find him on Odyssey, just type it in after you go to our channel at video.freetalklive.com. Because Odyssey's kind of spelled weird. So again, video.freetalklive.com. And don't forget to look for Joa as well on Breaking the Flaw. Search for that one and subscribe to both.
Thanks.
Yes. And so we're going to go to your phone calls here, and then we'll talk about the mainstream media and what they did and the hack job coverage, quote unquote, that they did over your arrest last night, Joa.
Okay.
And
it's fake news until Republicans do it, then it's totally legit.
Let's go to Major Payne though first. He's on the line in Michigan. Go ahead, Major.
Hey, Ian.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
How's it doing?
What's up, dude?
Evidently, it's been a rough day. I heard about your disappearing act when the phone rang and you and Bonnie ran out.
Huh?
That must have been to go rescue old Joa there.
What are you referring to? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, a couple of days ago, maybe it was yesterday, I heard that you had an emergency phone call and you suddenly disappeared. And somebody else ended up sitting first chair for the show.
No, there was no emergency. I don't know where you heard that.
No,
but
I'm not on the show on Wednesday nights.
No, he's talking about me, I think.
Oh.
No, we went specifically out last night to go to this event that we've been discussing for the last hour and a half. So that this was not an emergency; it was a planned activism occasion. But so
right.
yeah,
Well, they just said that you kind of got a phone call and disappeared, and they didn't know why. So
that's weird.
Just put two together on that one.
Okay. Well, anyway, I called within the first 10 minutes of the show last night to tell them that Joa had been arrested, so I would think they would have known where I was. But anyway, here you are, Major. What are you calling about?
Well, I know you're against war, and I am too, but one of the things that I have always believed, and I've taught my children, that our ancestors, the ones that survived, actually ran towards the sound of the gunfire, not away from it. Because if you run away from it, you're going to be captured and enslaved. Either you fight or you die. You know?
Well, it's one thing to be anti-war in the form of the libertarian, which is to say that we are generally against warmongering, nation building, invading other countries. But I think most libertarians are in favor of self-defense. So that's not to say that because you're anti-war means you're going to run from a fight. It just means that you don't support the government military and their militarism and their adventurism all around the planet, killing all kinds of innocent humans.
It's funny because libertarians love being armed to the teeth.
Yeah, especially here in New Hampshire.
So they have. I would say libertarians generally have more guns than Republicans, but libertarians are not starting wars, are they?
Right.
You remember what they just tried to do with the Michigan militia here? They convicted 3 of those silly buttheads because they rolled over. Oh,
yeah.
Good God.
You're talking about the governor situation.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said they were trying to
situation.
kidnap her in her residence on Mackinac Island, I think. The governor has a mansion on Mackinac Island. That might not have been the one.
Okay.
But it might have been her own home.
What were you calling about tonight, Major?
Well, the ones that cannot get fingerprinted are the Masons. And I'm not talking about George Washington, the priestly Masons. I'm talking about the guys that work with rock and mortar. Your fingers get so worn and calloused, you cannot be fingerprinted.
Got to pick up masonry before you go in. Get on it, man.
Actually, my vlogging really does work my fingers a lot.
Is that really true, though, Major? Masons have worn away their fingertips?
Sounds like a good urban legend to me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
Sounds like I need to drag
claim.
my hands out the window while I'm going to the police station to get my fingerprints done.
Thanks for the call tonight, Major. Appreciate it. All right,
no, I'm not going to do that.
That doesn't make sense to me because, I mean, if you cut your fingertip off, or not your fingertip, but if you cut the skin off, doesn't your fingerprint grow back the same way?
It does. Yeah.
Well, I actually I've had my fingerprints almost completely gone before doing work. I've had this happen, so it's not unusual. Actually, when I was a kid and I was skateboarding, grab your skateboard, you get the grip tape. My fingerprints were worn off. My skin was getting real thin when I was handling my skateboard.
It didn't get thicker from calluses?
Maybe over time after, but it was definitely wearing them out. It's always touching grippy,
So you got arrested last night, Joe.
Yeah.
And it was a bunch of BS, and they this Don Bolduc character, this general, accused you falsely of hitting him.
Yeah.
And
someone that everyone trusts because he was a general. Go ahead.
And he claims he doesn't lie, apparently, because, he was in the military, so therefore he can't lie.
No, definitely not.
He's definitely not been caught on camera switching his positions every couple weeks, depending on who he's talking to either.
Right.
And now he's been caught again, making false accusations against
he's
you.
right. I'm kidding.
And
that was actually one of the other clips I played was him flip-flopping on the election.
Right, where he was claiming there was election fraud, and then all of a sudden he wins the primary.
Yeah, and
then
it's legitimate suddenly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you were talked about in the mainstream media. This thing started spreading to Fox News. You mentioned Breitbart, a Washington Examiner. I mean, it started going all over the place.
Daily Mail.
Sort of the more conservative-leaning publications, so New York Post and Fox. These are Post is owned by Murdoch, if I recall correctly. So these are the ones that were covering the story and claiming that you, some of them didn't use your name, just some libertarian activist, had attacked Don Bolduc and had thrown a punch, and they just took the campaign's word for it. The campaign made this statement about, it was a couple different campaign staff that made this statement about you, and they didn't bother to call you.
Nope.
They didn't bother to try to find any kind of corroborating evidence of this.
Maybe realized there was a dozen cameras there?
They didn't in even most cases. I don't even think they used the term alleged in most cases. You read something, I think, out of Breitbart where they actually did use that term, but it was just, the campaign said that, and then they just published this claim about you.
They're known as a bastion of honesty, that campaign is.
And
keeping their word, especially
there
with
was
me.
if you just search, I'm sure if you just search this, physically attacked senator, right? Not senator candidate. Don't even worry about that. Just be physically attacked senator. You're gonna find this article over and over and over again, and it's so silly. I didn't do.
Hey, did you appreciate that some of the articles said individual though? A lot of them used that as they didn't say
that's a good point. I didn't focus on that, but yeah, if they use that, that's good.
Yeah, I mean that was thoughtful at least.
Yeah, so it doesn't throw you under the bus either.
So, what were you thinking when you started seeing those headlines?
I was like, holy cow, I can't believe this is actually has some traction. I didn't think this was really a big story. I thought they were really just going to throw it, like, just kind of throw it, what do you call it, dust it under the rug.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really think that they wanted to give me attention. I think
they didn't.
They gave
him attention.
Well, they gave me attention too. I mean,
later.
The thing is, though, with all these cameras going, can you imagine lying about that and then trying to make a story out of it, like bring it up in the debate?
Yeah. Right.
If I were him, I would have been like, I probably shouldn't have said that. Oh, well, I certainly won't like draw more attention to it and
that's
make
a
it
great
more
point.
of a story.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because in the debate, and I didn't watch it, but apparently I don't know if did you subject yourself to the whole thing?
Not the whole thing, just the foreign policy part, and then someone pointed out to me that he did mention the incident, so I watched that part.
He used it to make a political
That's
point.
right. And that's when they all kind of spread to him, sure.
But he's got to know. The only other thing I can think of is like, I can't think of anything else. Like, he knows that you didn't hit him.
Oh yeah,
he has to.
No,
right?
he's already admitted this. He's admitted it since
the story.
Now.
He's walked it back.
This
but
is the
he's
series
still
of
lying about it.
This is the series of events. Can I go over this real quick?
Yeah.
He hit me. He hit me. He hit me. He hit me.
This is what he said at the time.
At the time, and then he said he took a swing at me and grazed me. I'm fine. He swung and missed, and then it came to he tried to assault me.
It became I thought he was going to.
Yeah,
and I've got the actual statement. I've got his one of his more recent interviews where he's fully tried to walk this back.
And then the WMUR was like, he's accusing you of assault.
I can't wait for this guy to be
That's
senator.
how it all turned around on him.
He said he can't wait.
Can't wait for him to be senator. He's gonna be great.
All right, more coming up here. We'll play this audio from the mainstream media on the way. It is Free Talk Live. Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it is Free Talk Live, and you can join the show here. The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. I want to say thank you to Dominic Bashford, who is a Free Talk Live supporter of our AMPS program at amps.freetalklive.com. That's our Patreon, but Dominic has contributed $10 a month, so thank you, Dominic, for helping us out. We only ask for $5, so he's doing twice as much. So really appreciate that. And AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. It's a way for you to get behind what we do. If you like the ideas of liberty being discussed every single night on broadcast radio and beyond, then please get behind the show at amps.freetalklive.com. You get some perks like access to the AMPS podcast, which has the full radio show minus the recorded ads, and you can enjoy those. Just go get signed up over at amps.freetalklive.com. So we're talking about the mainstream media here and their just dismal reporting. I mean, we know that journalism is dead, right? Like, and it just keeps on proving it over and over again with this just pathetic, not even bothering to check the other side. When they heard from the Don Bolduc campaign that some crazy man had attacked their candidate outside of the debate last night, they just went to press.
Yep.
They didn't even bother trying to check anything.
Because they thought maybe I would be in jail still. But
maybe.
nope. The cops realized, we got to release this guy.
They did. They did. So I've got the clip here from one of these mainstream reports. Now, this isn't from last night. This is the updated report from today after the video came out. So what happened late last night was we had multiple camera angles. Different activists were on the scene. There was one, we believe, Bolduc supporter who was recording video as well. And she was streaming it live, so all her stuff was already up on Facebook by the time we all got home. We went out, by the way, after we bailed you out, we all went out to dinner and we hung out for like a couple hours.
Wait, where was I? No, I'm just kidding.
You were there. You were the guest of honor.
I'm just kidding.
And so, that's kind of a thing. It's like a tradition we have here in Keene, is if anybody ever gets arrested, we go, we help them get out if they want to get out. Because some people don't want to bail, they just want to sit or whatever, so you respect their choice. But get the person out, go grab some dinner, and then go home. So that's what we did. But then we went to work after we got home. And so Bill Barger, who had filmed some of the footage, and then Christopher Wade, our Friday night co-host, who had filmed some of the footage. Of course, we had some as well. Bonnie and I, we shared some of the videos. We're uploading them, and people are downloading different copies and things like that. And I cut together a video. I didn't have Bill's footage at this point. He was having trouble with his upload, and it's too bad. He's got a similar shot as Chow Kelly, who was the first. If you've seen the video we've been talking about at freekeen.com, the first part of the video where you can hear him yelling, "He hit me!" over and over again. That part, Bill got that footage, but his was clearer, the video, but he didn't get any audio. Right. So I didn't have that one at the time.
Yeah, the other person got good audio.
Yeah, but I got two clips from two completely different angles, and I edited together this. There was already like just the one angle that was kind of getting passed around, but I wanted to make it crystal clear what had happened, and you couldn't see the elbow from the first angle that Don Bolduc elbowed you with. But you can definitely see it in the second clip.
Right.
So I made less than basically 2-minute, 20-second video, the length of Twitter, and put that thing together. And I got it out by like 2 or 3 in the morning. It started getting shared around by the few people that were up at that time. And Justin O'Donnell, who's a libertarian activist here, he's got his own podcast. I think it's called the
Subversive. Yep.
Subversive podcast. He went crazy with it. He was going on every mainstream media publication, everybody who was sharing any of the mainstream media publication stories, and just saying, this is what really happened, and just started posting this video around. And then I sent out to my email list. I've got this like custom email list of mainstream media sources that have reported in the past on something that we've done, right? Like whether it be the Robin Hooding of Keene or whatever it is, and they've opted in to receive our emails. And so I only send it once in a while, like a few times a year. Only like what I consider the most newsworthy things, because I don't want to bombard their email addresses. So that way, when they see something from me, it's like, all right, we should open this. And so I sent this out saying, okay, well, here's video of what Don Bolduc was claiming, and he's lying.
Yeah.
And so I put that out there. So by the time the people showed up for the morning news shift, right, like they had that in their email box, and that's when the interest started coming out of, okay, well, we don't have the whole story.
The gig is up.
Yeah, and we need to talk to Joa about this.
So if anything, Bolduc should have been arrested and not been able to debate.
So when they update the story, it doesn't go out as a news story, right? Does it get
depends.
buried, or do they like refresh it to the top of the page?
It depends how they do it. If they update the story, I don't know what happens to its positioning, but some of them did post completely new stories.
All right, well, that's good.
I haven't actually seen a redacted story yet.
Oh, some of them have done nothing at all.
Yeah.
Right? Like some of the right-wing, kind of leaning, major mainstream stuff have done nothing. But the New Hampshire ones have been taking this under advisement, and they have been changing their story. So in this report from WMUR earlier today, WMUR, for listeners that don't know, is basically the only broadcast television station in New Hampshire. This is it. And they did a report about this. I'm just going to play this audio here, which includes an interview of Don Bolduc, where he weighs in on what has happened.
Between Senator Maggie Hassan and her challenger, retired Brigadier General Don Bolduc.
Okay, before we go on, the headline, or the lower third on this, says Bolduc rushed. So even though they've seen the footage, they're playing some of the footage in this clip, it's clear he wasn't rushed by anyone except for maybe the cops and his campaign manager,
right,
who rushed up to him to save him from you talking to him with your hand behind your back.
You suck, don't go to war.
Yeah. But, Bolduc rushed at a glance. It makes it sound like there's like some crowd of people that's like, thronging in on him.
He was rushed by the two supporters with the flag that came and like attacked you.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Joa was more rushed by them, and they did attack him. But anyway, let me continue here.
Look at this video right here. Bolduc is greeting the crowd outside the venue when a libertarian activist confronts Bolduc. Thanks so much for joining us here at noon. I'm Troy Lynch, and that man who rushed towards Bolduc is facing charges right now. WMUR's Ray Brewer is live with more.
What charges?
Yeah, not even
charges?
associated to this so-called assault.
Right. Yeah, have nothing to do with the alleged assault, which didn't happen.
General Don Bolduc is currently holding a town hall meeting here at the Loudon Country Club. But before that meeting, he did address what happened last night prior to the debate. Now, this is video of that incident. It shows General Bolduc greeting members of his crowd there.
On the screen, they have your smiling face, Joa, and
I love
your mug shot, which is one of the best.
Always smile for mug shots.
Yeah, one of the best. Did they try to tell you couldn't?
No.
Okay. That's right.
They were pretty kind to me in there. I'm going to be honest. It was pretty decent people.
A lot of times, the cops in New Hampshire are on their best behavior when they know that we're around. They don't want to be caught doing something they shouldn't be doing, even though sometimes they still do.
The man later identified as Joseph Hart, a libertarian activist. Now, Bolduc's supporters surround the man, and Goffstown police rush in. Now, prior to the incident, according to police, Hart had been asked to leave the premises. As a result of the disturbance, Hart was charged with criminal trespass and disorderly conduct, but he has not been charged with assault.
All right, so they did do that.
They did actually get that right.
They did clarify that. So that's good news. And here's Don Bolduc and what he has to say. Now, remember, this is midday. This is today, middle of the day. The official
He's still
video's
having
out.
flashbacks of the vicious attack.
Yeah, here we go.
Were you assaulted last night?
I wouldn't call it an assault, you know.
Okay, remember last night he said, he hit me!
He hit me!
Like 4 or 5 times, apparently, after Joe didn't even do anything except talk to him.
Well, if the police wasn't there, if the police didn't do their job, it probably would have been an assault, but you can't speculate.
Okay, but you just
It would
did.
have been a verbal assault. You would have been like, why do you love war so much?
That's some leftist verbal assault. All right, so, but no, let me speculate for a second here. He assaulted me. Oh, wait, that's not speculation. It's on video.
He just speculated, though, right? Like he said what he thought would have happened if the police weren't there, and then goes to say you can't speculate right after he just...
Yeah, that's a cover. Yeah, that's some politics right there. Huh?
So I'm grateful that the police were there. I'm grateful they did their job. As you know, a big supporter of law enforcement.
I'm grateful that the police were there too, because they're adding to my lawsuit. So I'm going to be suing them as well. So that's going to be coming to play.
Arrest?
Oh, absolutely wrongful arrest. And I'm going to be suing him for slander. But, like, the thing is, I am going to do
This
it.
is libel.
I know,
think
I believe you.
He's recorded.
Oh, liable.
Yeah.
I'm going to be, he's
Well,
liable.
he slandered you on site, too.
Yeah, on-site slander. Now he's liable for lying more. Lying.
Wait, is it libel when it's recorded, even if it's spoken word?
As I understand it, the difference, and please correct me if I'm wrong, legal experts out there, slander is when someone says something about you that's false. Libel is when slander is recorded, basically. So if he's lying about you on video or on an audio recording, that is libel, which is different than being liable.
You could also say it's disorderly conduct if you do it in front of a police officer, right?
Yeah, apparently. So
let's make that happen, Goffstown.
I got more of him trying to walk back what he said before, but yet still lying, coming up. Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured directly to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold bag. This offer is limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20, mymagicmud.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. The former cricket star was shot in the leg when gunfire erupted at a rally he was about to address in the city of Wazirabad. 1 person died and another 9 were reportedly injured. FSN's Neha Punia, observing events from our New Delhi bureau, says tensions between the former Prime Minister and the Pakistani military have been running high lie, with some of Mr. Khan's supporters suggesting there may be a link.
There are some allegations that he fell out with the Pakistani army that's believed to be very powerful and having stake in how the government is run in Pakistan. But of course, Pakistani officials have denied all of this. But his side continues to maintain that there is political motivation and that the Shehbaz Sharif government, along with foreign actors, have a part to play.
A suspect caught at the scene has now been shown on Pakistani television confessing to the attack and telling police he was hoping to kill the former Prime Minister, but it's not known under what circumstances that video was obtained. In other news today, the pound suffered another sharp drop against the US dollar after the Bank of England raised interest rates in the UK by 75 basis points. The bank also warned the country is facing its longest recession since the 1920s. The British government conceded that families are facing very tough times, with the bank's action setting the base interest rate at 3%. Danny Blanchflower, a former member of the bank's Monetary Policy Committee, thinks its current members made the wrong move today.
Mortgage prices have risen up. People can't pay their bills. Unemployment is set to rise, and firms are going to close, and people's spending is going to collapse because the consumer confidence is on the floor. So this is precisely the wrong thing to do. They should be cutting rates, not raising them.
The Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid has conceded defeat in Israel's general election. The way is now clear for former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a coalition of right-wing parties to try and form a government. Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter before the week is out. That's 50% of the company's workforce. From FSN's bureau in New York, Gabrielle Farmi reports.
In the last couple of days, managers at Twitter had to make lists of who to keep and who to fire in their departments. There are now 3,700 workers targeted, with layoffs expected Friday around midday. One of Musk's first moves as owner was to fire the CEO and other top executives. He's under pressure to slash costs of a business for which he says he overpaid. He made his $44 billion bid to buy Twitter just as the markets began to tumble in the spring. Musk also plans to charge $8 a month for users to keep that blue verified check mark, and that feature could go live as early as Monday.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, with more today on the outcome of Israel's election and Benjamin Netanyahu's efforts to form a new coalition government with other right-wing parties. What will his return to power presage for Israel's relationship with the United States, led as it is now by President Joe Biden, hardly Mr. Netanyahu's political soulmate? Elad Simchayoff is a UK-based correspondent for Channel 12 in Israel.
I think it will be much more difficult for Benjamin Netanyahu dealing with a liberal Democrat American president. We saw his clashing with Obama, which is very close to President Biden, and now even more so than before, because if you look at the potential coalition, it will be much more right-wing, extremist, ultra-orthodox. He will have a partner named Itamar Ben-Gvir, and he's very right-wing, extremist. So this coalition will be a lot harder for the American Democrats and even for European to deal with. I think Benjamin Netanyahu knows that.
He argues it's a measure of how far to the right Israeli politics may be about to turn, that in the upcoming coalition, Benjamin Netanyahu could be the most left-leaning member, which of course in and of itself torpedoes any hopes of settlement negotiations with the Palestinians and will indeed have impacts for Israel on the global stage. The main news again, Prime Minister Yair Lapid has now conceded defeat in Israel's general election, meaning Benjamin Netanyahu will form the country's next government. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. He was shot in the leg as he prepared to address a rally. And Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter. That's half the workforce before the week is out. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
This is the Onion Week in Review. According to a Stanford University study released Wednesday, there is no logical reason why planes are able to fly. Reiterating that they fully understand the concepts of lift, thrust, and propulsion, lead physicists told reporters they were still unable to reasonably explain how a large 500,000-pound object is capable of staying up in the air without falling.
We've come up with several theories, including wind propulsion, some sort of gravity suspension effect, also the possibility that the clouds pull the plane skyward, but beyond that, just don't understand how a large metal tube could just kind of float in the air like that. And it's going at like 500 miles per hour, which means that when I'm on a plane, I'm also going 500 miles per hour. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, why is my hair blowing back and forth?
The Stanford team added they plan to devote the next 2 years to a new study on why telephones can hear. In other news, an urban planner is stuck in traffic of his own design, and a kid screams behind a passenger during an entire plane crash. Visit theonion.com/newsbeat for more.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We've been going in depth on what happened last night with Joa, who's here with us. And by the way, with you tonight, it is Ian.
And Reed. And Joa.
Joa from Breaking the Flaw was arrested last night outside of the Senate debate here in New Hampshire. The Senate candidates, the mainstream Republican and Democrat, were the only ones allowed to debate at this event. They're the only ones who've been allowed to debate. Our favorite, Jeremy Kauffman, the Libertarian candidate, has been denied any kind of access to debates. They specifically set the rules to where he could not possibly get into these debates.
What was it? No Jewish people?
Surprisingly, no. They didn't
wasn't
have that one.
Oh.
But they did say that you had to raise a certain amount of money, I believe. And I don't remember if all the debates had this requirement, but you also had to poll a certain percentage in the polls, which they set way higher than they know any libertarian could possibly poll.
And they don't even include the libertarian in the polls for the most part.
Yeah.
So
a lot of the polls have said someone else. So like they've had the mainstream two candidates and then quote unquote someone else.
I've had two surveyors call me, and both times, I've had to say they never have Jeremy as an option.
Yeah.
So I have to say, write Jeremy Kauffman, or tell your producer or whoever it is I said Jeremy Kauffman.
Good.
So
Yeah, I'll do that stuff too when they call. Whether it makes any difference, I don't know. Doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to say it. So the general, Don Bolduc, accused you, Joa, of hitting him, called police over before he even accused you of hitting him.
Right.
Had you arrested because you approached him and you had some words to say about him being a warmonger, basically. You had some opinions you wanted to share with him. And you were off the property, ostensibly, of the college, St. Anselm College at the time, but yet you were arrested and charged with so-called criminal trespass. So this is going to be an interesting case just on that alone, but then they tacked on a disorderly conduct charge because they just love to do that. And but yet no assault charge, no battery charge.
Nope.
Despite the fact that this guy, who's this retired general, is claiming you hit him.
I don't think I could mess up his face anymore anyways.
Until today, when he decided to walk back his claims after video came out from multiple sources, multiple angles that showed crystal clear that not only did he not get hit by you or even touched by you or even like motioned towards, you didn't raise a pinky towards this guy. Not only does the video show that clearly, but it also shows that he hit you, Joe.
Yes, he elbowed me.
And then his goons came out and further roughed you up after that.
Which was incited by him because of what he was
by him
doing.
Claiming that you had hit him.
Exactly.
So, now fast forward to this afternoon when the video's been out. The mainstream media has seen the actual video now, and they actually did ask him about it after playing some of the clips on WMUR. And I've got that clip here where they approached Don Bolduc at another campaign event, and they asked him. I'm just going to run it back in case people are just tuning in. So here's the full statement from Don Bolduc.
Were you assaulted last night?
I wouldn't call it an assault.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, me neither. But he sure as hell did last night. Saying he hit me over and over again.
The police wasn't there. If the police didn't do their job, it probably would have been an assault, but you can't speculate.
He did, right then.
So I'm grateful that the police were there. I'm grateful they did their job. As you know, big supporter of law enforcement. I don't want that incident to eclipse the debate.
Too late.
It was way more interesting than
Too late, bruh.
It's way more interesting.
That we're going to beat Maggie Hassan on Tuesday. It's about the election. It's about Senator Hassan and I, and that's it, right?
Wait, I thought he supported Jeremy Kauffman being in the debates.
Well, that was until he was viciously assaulted by one of his supporters.
All right, going on.
We need to focus on.
And finally, the video appears to show your right elbow going into him. Have you seen that?
Now, I did not expect that question.
Me neither.
I was really
Very
surprised
good.
that they asked that question. So kudos to
Yes.
the reporter.
I
in
do
this case.
appreciate that, but they still kind of had to line things up. They should be showing the footage right when he's saying this. Go ahead.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they should have.
They
That
showed
would
some
have been
footage
good
earlier.
editing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They showed some footage earlier, but they certainly didn't show that portion of
Right.
it. Though, to be fair to WMUR, they did include a good chunk of the footage in a separate video in this same article. If you scroll down, you can review some of that stuff. Anyway, going on.
Did you? And
No.
he's threatening to file assault charges against you. Any response to that?
No, I didn't assault anybody.
Wrong.
He was
Yeah, he definitely hit
Sad.
somebody. Whether it was an assault or a battery, I suspect. Maybe this is a legal question, but going on here. So also, he kind of looks like his eyes look real shifty when he gets asked this question. He kind of looks around. He looks really shifty.
No, I didn't assault anybody. He was close with towards me. I was turning to protect myself, and that was it.
No, that wasn't what happened. He didn't turn to protect himself.
No, he did not.
Because he wasn't under
He
attack.
See, what he's showing in that video right there is he's turning the opposite way of what he actually did. He actually turned toward me and put an elbow into me. What he's showing in the clip, he's turning on the opposite way to his left, and it's complete opposite. He continues to lie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way anyone should be trusting him as a senator if he gets in office, and that you shouldn't be voting for him. This isn't
He's the
correct.
most consistent candidate I've ever heard.
Yeah,
as far as lying.
Yeah, for lying. But, congratulations, Maggie Hassan. I don't like you, but you're just as bad as him.
Yeah,
but
she's
you're going to
bad
win
too.
now because of this. And I hate to say it, but this is what's going to end up happening. But or all the Maggie people that, if you're listening right now, you're probably being paid to listen. But maybe you can go and vote for Jeremy Kauffman. Jeremy will pay you.
I don't think so.
I'm being satirical.
The number here is
Don't break their promises.
603-6160. I think that's pretty much the. So yeah, he claims he was bending over to protect himself, but again, from what? He already said there was no assault. Like earlier in the video, he admitted that there was no attack on him. So why was he protecting himself? The only time that he did any kind of bending or whatever was when he grabbed his own arm as he was sort of shuffled away or pulled away by the police in this case, and acted for a moment like he had somehow been injured by you, when in fact he was the one that connected with your body with his arm.
Right. See, what's going to end up happening, I'm going to play this out into if he was a senator or whatever, or if he was president, let's just say that, right? They're going to be like, oh, there was kids throwing grenades, and it was just like this kid kicking a rock. Like, that's what it's going to be. And then he's going to drop bombs on
Israel
people.
with the Palestinians when they throw a rock at a tank or something, and they take out a hospital.
Yeah, but what I'm
Same
saying
idea.
is, this is how this guy is going to react in office, right?
Yeah.
If he has to make some big decisions, he's going to see a butterfly land and start nuclear war.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this really reflects his opinion on what we should have done on February 28th regarding Russia. It really goes hand in hand.
There's maybe a little bit more. Let me see if it's worth playing.
Myself, and that was it. It was simple as that.
Is that Sharon next to him?
I don't know.
Now, News
Some old
9
guy.
did speak with Hart
okay.
by telephone, and Hart denied assaulting anyone. Reporting live in Loudon, Ray.
Anyone who wants to watch this video can make up their own mind for themselves. And it's there if you want to watch it at freaking.com.
The cope in some of the comments watching the video is incredible, though.
Could you recall any of that?
I forget. Yeah, one of the guys was like, this video doesn't show enough to make an informed decision. Even though it shows at least 2 or 3 different angles in slow motion, you obviously never touch him until he's pushed into you and his elbow comes out and hits you.
And the video shows them apart, right?
Oh,
it's not,
for sure.
It's not like the video starts when they're already next to one another.
Right.
It shows them approaching each other, so you get to see the whole thing. One of the excuses I heard earlier was, oh, well, this wasn't the assault. The assault happened at another time.
No, it didn't.
I don't think you even got close to him at any other point,
No,
right?
that was the only time.
Never.
Did you cover how they freaked out at you for going on the property when you got asked to leave, but they didn't yell at like 10 other people who were going where you were trying to go?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't say I don't blame them because I was loud, obnoxious, swearing, all these things that probably the campus and WMUR didn't want. But until they finally say that I'm trespassed, I'm going to be there, right? And that's how it goes. That's how trespassing law works. I love it. It's a beautiful thing. You know, Manchester PD didn't learn a lesson. Goffs didn't learn from Manch.
And I want to get to the Jeremy Kauffman, the final ad that came out for his campaign, which we have yet to actually play. That's coming up.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
is Free Talk Live. Phones are open. You can join us here. The number for you is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live is brought to you by Bullion Max. Bullion Max can get you the most stable assets in recorded history, gold and silver. You want to talk about a great place to go and get a huge variety of gold and silver products? They've got those for you over at bullionmax.com, but maybe you're brand new to it. Maybe you want to get into collecting silver for the first time. They've got their silver starter kit. You can get yours at employee pricing by going to bullionmax.com/FTL, and they're now throwing in a free gold back because the gold backs are amazing, and everybody loves them when they see them, so you get yours.
So, believe me, as everybody loves them.
They are.
If you haven't heard of gold and silver, it's like the original NFT, okay?
No.
Yeah, it is, because it has proof. No? You don't like it? You don't like that one?
NFTs are like one of a kind. Although I guess you could say gold backs have serial numbers on them, so I guess they are unique in that way.
Okay.
But they're way cooler than NFTs. So go to bullionmax.com/FTL and get your silver starter kit there. It's 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products plus a free gold back, and it's limited to 1 per household. So don't miss out on your chance over at bullionmax.com/FTL. Let's go to Sarah. She's in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. So here in our state, they really want to consider taking guns away from domestic violence abusers that have a criminal record.
Oh, okay. So the cops are safe then because they have a lot of domestic violence, from what I understand. Isn't it like 40% of police wives that suffer abuse, physical abuse?
Yeah, it was a national poll. Yep.
Yeah, but she said criminal abuse record.
That's what I'm saying. So the cops are safe,
good. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So that's what you want, right?
Well, the thing about it is that
you want to excuse the police from their violence, but go after other people.
Okay, but are they arrested? Are they in jail?
No, they're not going to be arrested because their buddies are the ones who would be arresting them.
Exactly.
So they look the other way. They get the pass. They get the thin blue line.
I have seen a lot of police officers lately. A lot of videos are coming out where they're getting arrested for DUIs.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of these are finally coming out. Like they're being revealed. I've seen maybe a dozen in the last couple months. Yeah, it's wild.
The issue was that what the problem is there was a guy that was released out of prison, and then he came out and then he shot his ex-girlfriend in the face as soon as he got released, and they were released from the COVID virus. That was part of the reason. And they're using to attack our governor, Louis Grisham. So
where did he get the gun?
Well, I mean, he's a criminal. He was.
Oh.
Well, I mean, he was threatening.
So wait, what you're saying is the criminal doesn't follow laws?
Right, but it's better that.
Hold on, Sarah. I'm trying to put this together. So what you just told me was a guy got out of jail. He went after was it his wife or his girlfriend?
Ex-wife.
Right.
Thank you. Ex-wife. He went after his ex-wife. He shot her in the face.
Right.
And he didn't obey the laws about shooting her in the face. So you wouldn't think he would obey the laws about not having a gun, would you?
Right. I mean,
okay.
But the thing about it is that I don't know exactly how he had a gun. I mean, he might have had a gun in his house, accessible. But
do you think that if he didn't have a gun in his house, do you think he would have been able to get one?
Well, he was threatening her on the recording that I'll get the gun as soon as possible. I'm sure his criminal buddies would have had a gun. But
so what you're saying is, even if it were illegal for him to have a gun, he could still get one because he knows people.
Right, that's correct. Right. But
so what good is your law going to do exactly?
Well, the thing is that it'll be at least laws on the books, and then it'll be harder to do it because right now, New Mexico, we don't have that. I mean,
it doesn't sound that hard. If all he's got to do is call up his buddy and then ask him for a gun because he needs a favor or whatever, that doesn't sound like that's very hard. And he's just got to drive to his friend's house and pick it up. That doesn't sound hard at all.
It's the extra layer of protection so that it's not readily accessible, to actually have a state law and ordinance in place.
Okay.
So it'll be like California.
So you're
But
saying having to drive to somebody's house is like a big barrier in your mind that's going to somehow stop somebody from getting shot?
No, but there's other ones that they were allowed to have a gun with all of these domestic violence, and then it's not actually a state law encoded right now in New Mexico because they abuse women here.
Sarah, I understand that you don't care about people's rights. I get that. I get that you don't care about gun freedoms.
She's saying that someone had a domestic and they don't have the gun right? Is that what she said?
Well, they're passing one of those laws, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's ridiculous. Yeah.
Wait,
Because no, Sarah, hang on a second. Okay? This is ridiculous. This is personal. I'm not going to talk about everything, but let's just put it this way. When they take away when they get a restraining order on someone, a lot of times the person they're getting the restraining order on is actually the victim. You realize that, right? You realize that?
Oh no, she believes all women.
The person that's okay. What's the law in New Hampshire? Is it? Do they have that? If there's a
Yeah, they take your gun rights away if you. It's not even a conviction. There's no charges being brought forward. If you are found if the restraining order is granted, okay, regardless of the facts of the case are true or not, they will take your gun rights away for a year.
Whether or not you've even been charged with domestic violence.
That's right.
Just in a simple restraining order.
And there's no argument or fight from the defendant on the case because they're not being charged, so they could just railroad you in the court. You get that, right?
Well, I think we don't New Mexico. We don't even have that. We have nothing.
Sarah, do you think that women should be?
Have,
do you think that women should all be believed by default?
well, you know what? I think 9 out of 10 women should be believed.
Only 9 out of 10.
Hey, Sarah.
You sound like a misogynist to me.
Yeah, Sarah, I believe you right now, but I'll never believe you in real life. Like
I hope we
in
never meet
person.
her.
Yeah, no.
Well, I just don't believe her this one time. This is the 1 out of the 10 times I don't believe her.
Well, I'm going to believe her because you said that.
Thanks, Sarah, for the call. I'm had enough of you.
She's really a numbskull, and I'm sorry. Yeah. She needs to be called out on it. Sarah, I don't really mind you calling in. It's kind of fun.
No, I'm glad she brought up the issue because otherwise we wouldn't have talked about gun freedoms here tonight. So I do appreciate her call. And it is important to point out here that these things are very emotional, right? Like, oh, God, somebody's under threat, right? Like there's a poor person, a woman, or somebody who's being threatened by their lover or ex-lover, and they're going to hurt them, and we need the government to do something, even though we already pointed out that somebody who's interested in doing harm is going to make it possible, right? Like they don't care what the law says.
I'll tell you the reason why they do it. I'll tell you the reason why they do it. Why judges do this. Because if they don't do it, and then actually 1 out of the 100 that they didn't take the person's rights away, their gun rights, and that one guy or girl, doesn't matter what sex they are, and they go and attack the other person, now that judge is on the hook.
No, they won't be.
No, but people blame them all the time. You see it. I see it all the time in the news.
Yeah, but they don't have any liability, so they're not on the hook at all.
No, I know, but they're on the hook.
Immunity.
But politically, they're on the hook.
Yeah.
It don't matter to them, really.
More coming up here in moments. You can
Trying to
join
save
the show.
face.
It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Imran Khan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, has survived what his supporters say was an assassination attempt. The former cricket star was shot in the leg when gunfire erupted at a rally he was about to address in the city of Wazirabad. One person died and another 9 were reportedly injured. FSN's Neha Punia, observing events from our New Delhi bureau, says tensions between the former Prime Minister and the Pakistani military have been running high, with some of Mr. Khan's supporters suggesting there may be a link.
There are some allegations that he fell out with the Pakistani army that's believed to be very powerful and having stake in how the government is run in Pakistan. But of course, Pakistani officials have denied all of this. But his side continues to maintain that there is political motivation and that the Shehbaz Sharif government, along with foreign actors, have a part to play.
A suspect caught at the scene has now been shown on Pakistani television confessing to the attack and telling police he was hoping to kill the former Prime Minister, but it's not known under what circumstances that video was obtained. In other news today, the pound suffered another sharp drop against the US dollar after the Bank of England raised interest rates in the UK by 75 basis points. The bank also warned the country is facing its longest recession since the 1920s. The British government conceded that families are facing very tough times, with the bank's action setting the base interest rate at 3%. Danny Blanchflower, a former member of the bank's Monetary Policy Committee, thinks its current members made the wrong move today.
Mortgage prices have risen up. People can't pay their bills. Unemployment is set to rise, and firms are going to close, and people's spending is going to collapse because the consumer confidence is on the floor. So this is precisely the wrong thing to do. They should be cutting rates, not raising them.
The Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid has conceded defeat in Israel's general election. The way is now clear for former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a coalition of right-wing parties to try and form a government. Elon Musk is reportedly planning to fire 4,000 employees of Twitter before the week is out. That's 50% of the company's workforce. From FSN's bureau in New York, Gabrielle Farmi reports.
In the last couple of days, managers at Twitter had to make lists of who to keep and who to fire in their departments. There are now 3,700 workers targeted, with layoffs expected Friday around midday. One of Musk's first moves as owner was to fire the CEO and other top executives. He's under pressure to slash costs of a business for which he says he overpaid. He made his $44 billion bid to buy Twitter just as the markets began to tumble in the spring. Musk also plans to charge $8 a month for users to keep that blue verified checkmark, and that feature could go live as early as Monday.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FS.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join the show, bring up whatever you want, whether it's gun control or this ridiculous situation still developing here in New Hampshire with this General Don Bolduc telling lies to have our co-host Joa arrested on false charges. Luckily, he hasn't been hit with any assault or battery charges at this point, but has been hit with criminal trespass and the ever-famous popular disorderly conduct, which police love to throw at protesters. It's Ian Reed and Joa in the studio here tonight. Don't forget, you can support the Crypto 6 movie. There's a documentary that's in production. You can go to balladofthecrypto6.com. That's Ballad of the Crypto 6 with a numeral 6, and you can become a backer of this production. If you want the Crypto 6 story to be told about how this studio was raided, my home, multiple co-hosts' homes were raided last year, people charged with a bunch of BS, victimless crimes, supposedly for selling Bitcoin without government permission. So if that's interesting to you, please go to Ballad of the Crypto 6 with the numeral 6.com. You can watch the 9-minute trailer that they put together, but it's going to take a little bit of money to put this full feature-length film together, and I'm sure they would appreciate your help. It's an independent crew based out of Mexico that's been doing the work, and it's looking good so far. So go and check it out, and you can back it and get some perks like T-shirts or possibly hosting Free Talk Live or dining with some of your favorite hosts at Ballad of the Crypto 6 with the number 6.com. So we've been covering this situation with Don Bolduc accusing you, Joa, of attacking him. But now it's not an attack. He was afraid that you were going to attack.
What a coward thing. So what is he going to do, react when Russia goes, ooh, flinches at him?
Yes, that is what he's already done.
Yeah, preemptive. He wants to do a preemptive attack,
and I didn't flinch, by the way.
Yeah, you're lucky he wasn't a cop at this time. I think he has been a cop in the past. I think I heard that somewhere.
No, I don't know.
Like before he was in the military, he was like a cop apparently, maybe. Anyway, luckily he wasn't a cop, because if a cop thinks you're going to do something violent to them, then they have the right to shoot you to death. So thankfully that didn't.
Yeah. Oh, so do generals apparently, though. At least in America, if we think someone's going to do something, we can just invade them.
Well, right. I meant on a personal level.
Yeah,
right?
It's just on a higher level with the generals. So,
well, Genital Bulldog. I
haven't
had to
heard
do
that
it.
one yet. That's a good one.
Well, he hangs kind of low.
It's General Ball. Duck! Joe's going to hit me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I should have. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you definitely shouldn't have.
You did the right because I'm a nonviolent person.
Yeah, I mean, your approach was ideal, right?
Yes.
Like you did get close to him, but you weren't threatening in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing anyone could say about this video beyond pure conjecture and conspiracy that, oh, well, the video that it really meant, he really hit him another time where there wasn't a camera on him. And that's really the best claim that they have. And that there's no claim there because we have video of all the rest of it. That just hasn't come out, right? Like, because it's boring, because it's just him running around.
I think I hit him really hard in the ego.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yep.
And hopefully he is going to be doubled over, because this thing hopefully will not let up, and it will ramp up over the next 24 to 48 hours and get worse for him.
I wonder if General Bulldog he's ever had torture cuffs on him.
Probably not.
I hope it's a first for him.
Oh, because you think he's going to get arrested?
I believe he will.
Because you filed charges.
I did.
Or you're attempting to, right? Because you can't. So here's something else. Brad Jardis. Do you remember Brad Jardis?
I do.
Yeah. So he was trying to reach you today. Were you able to talk to him?
I did not talk to him.
Okay, so
it's been a while since I talked to him. Last time I saw him was at State House. But
I'll remind you off the air. But basically, Brad, he's a former cop. For listeners that don't know, Brad Jardis was a 10-plus year cop here in New Hampshire, so he knows a thing or two about the system.
Correct.
And he ended up quitting being a cop because he came out against the war on drugs.
Took one puff of a joint or something.
I don't think that's what started it for him.
Oh, okay.
I think he later, when he was no longer a
I see.
cop, did smoke some cannabis. But while he was still a cop, he was following all the rules.
Gotcha.
But he spoke out against the war on drugs, and the department came after him. So the other cops in the department were threatening him, were trying to intimidate him. They were like doing graffiti on his vehicle and things like that.
Wow.
And they ended up basically running him out of the department. He's kind of been out of the activism world for a little while. He's been working with his family, but he showed back up recently. He took Bonnie and I out to dinner, and we kind of caught up, and he's doing well. For listeners that might have been wondering about
That's
him,
good.
He's doing good.
I'm happy to hear that.
But he's now hanging out on our Matrix server at chat.freetalklive.com, and he was saying he could teach you how to actually charge Bolduc yourself, that there is some way to do that in New Hampshire where you don't have to rely on the police to say, oh, well, we think there's a chargeable offense here and we feel like charging it. Right.
Right. I know exactly what you're saying. So I used to go file a basically a complaint with the courts with them or something like that.
Yeah, so I don't know how it's done.
Yeah.
I didn't ask him, but he wants to tell you about that.
Okay.
So that would be interesting. He said the only downside is, even though you can bring a criminal charge against somebody in New Hampshire, the prosecutor can still dismiss it.
Oh, anytime he wants. Yeah.
So yeah, you still don't have the true, real ability to bring prosecutorial action against somebody. You can try it and see what happens.
What if let's just say they deny all this, right? I'm going to do a petition.
You mean if the police?
Yeah,
don't
if they don't want to
this?
take this assault claim that I came in and complained about. If they don't take that seriously, which I am taking very seriously, I have a lawyer involved, and I'm going to take this guy down for assault and defaming, whatever you want to call it, slander, liable, whatever it is. He is going to see the bars. He is going to sit in a concrete cell, and he's going to have to deal with the consequences of him elbowing me for political purposes in front of a crowd, in front of police, and those police officers are also going to be held liable for them not doing anything.
See, now I kind of hope he wins the election.
So
and
that can
then
happen
goes
afterwards?
down afterwards.
And then there's a special election.
That would be exciting. What happens if he gets convicted of a crime before he was elected.
You had
what
to
do they
revote.
do?
You revote.
Do we just get to put Bruce Fenton in? I say that's what we do.
That would be nice. You're referring to the Free Stater who was running against Bolduc in the primary. That's a good question. It would depend.
Goes to a revote.
Well,
so this happened in Rhode Island.
Really?
Yep. Billy Hunt was running against a Democrat, and it was like a young kid. The Democrat, I forget his name. Who cares? He won
in a federal race.
No, this is state. I guess. Yeah, you're right.
But go ahead, tell the
this
story.
is a good story because what happened is like this Democrat won, and then they found there was money laundering within the campaign and all this illegal financing and all this stuff. So that kid ran. Before he even could take the seat in office, he ran out of state because he knew he was dealing with charges.
Okay.
So the next thing they do, special election, and one of the guys that actually endorsed Billy Hunt, which he was like the Republican or Libertarian, whatever kind of candidate, that other candidate decided, it's another race available? I'm going to run against Billy Hunt, the guy I endorsed. So they had a special election, and he was just splitting the vote on him, and guess who wins? The Democrat. Again. And the Democrat that won was part of the she was the treasurer of the other candidate that was
with the money laundering.
Yes,
that is incredible.
Billy Hunt should have won.
So the question is, what would the charges be? Would they be felony level? Would they be misdemeanor level? Because if it's felony level, there's a good chance he would be disqualified from office.
Yep.
I don't know at the federal level if a misdemeanor would.
I don't know what exactly like politically motivated assaults are, but that sounds like a felony.
And I don't know whether or not it would be before or after would affect it. If it were before, I think there's a good chance he would be disqualified if it were a felony. If it were after, it may be that the Senate would have to vote him out. So I'm just kind of speculating based on kind of what I know about state level stuff. Maybe extrapolating that to federal. But either way, it's going to be a real pain in his ass. So,
how about this? Either way,
fun to watch.
what he did is possibly treasonous. Like he is supposed
to attacking the media. You mean?
Or how about just attacking he literally attacked me and then trying to point the finger at me like I'm the attacker.
Right.
And he's doing it for political motivation. Like he's going to do this over and over again. He gets away with this once. He's going to do it over and over again. He'll do it to everybody. Yeah. That's against America. That is against freedom of speech. Treasonous. No, I'm not going to say that. No, I'm taking the back of treason. Bolduc, I'm sorry.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, whether the police actually lift a finger to do anything about this, and who knows how long they're going to take to do this investigation. I am not as optimistic as you are, Joe, but I hope you prove me wrong.
I am optimistic. I think he's going to send us out.
Okay. I hope you prove me wrong.
That would be incredible.
That would be really amazing. There's more coming up here. The number is 603-283-6160. We will keep our eyes on this story. And then we're going to get into some international news here in the remaining moments of Free Talk Live. Reed's got some really scary news about Ukraine on the way. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Moments remain. Enough time for you if you want to join us here. 603-283-6160 is the number. That's 603-283-6160. You don't have to talk about the incredible corruption within the two major parties, which we've been focusing on one of them tonight. Although we did mention the fact that the other candidate, Maggie Hassan, has basically backed her opponent.
That's because she's paying us to undermine his campaign. That's why she would side with him against us.
Yeah.
Easy $20 ever.
It's Ian Reed and also Joa in the studio here tonight. Joa, there was a special notice or thing you wanted to wish towards somebody. Go ahead and
it's sad news in the First Amendment auditing community. One of our biggest YouTubers, Disorderly Product News, he's out of Chicago, and he'll be missed. He passed away recently, and he just had the voice. He had this really fun voice, like, hey, it's Disorderly Product News here, and today we're going to see Chicago cops acting out. That's how he sounded, and everyone loved him. He was a great guy, and
so he was a First Amendment auditor, kind of like you. You go to different places,
cop watcher, and that sort of
You've
thing.
got a video camera. You enter various different bureaucratic buildings, and you see what happens.
Yeah, he was mainly like a cop watcher, so he'll run around and like film cops. So, he had the ability. It's Chicago. I mean, come on.
Yeah, lots to do there. I imagine.
Jeez, but sad news, and it's just
health issues. He was young.
He had some health. He was about my age, and it's sad.
That's young.
Yeah. Everyone says I'm a lot younger, but I'm actually a lot older than people think I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
What was it? Disorderly Product News?
Disorderly Product News. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Check him out on YouTube. He's got over 100,000 subs, and he could use your support even though he's not here.
Well, it's always, that's the nice thing about video is it sticks around after you're gone, and at least as long as YouTube doesn't delete his channel. So thanks for sharing that tonight.
You're welcome.
Reed, you had some news to talk about here, and it's not good, it looks like, out of Ukraine and the U.S.'s involvement. What's going on?
So you guys already talked about the Democrats, or did you ever talk about that? The 30 Democrats who wrote the letter to urge Biden to reconsider his strategy, and then they instantly retracted it.
Yeah, I don't know if that got any serious discussion here, but it was very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
The supposed most progressive Democrats wrote a letter against the invasion of Ukraine or the escalation of U.S. involvement.
Yeah, it was criticizing Biden for not trying to communicate with Russia or negotiate some sort of
diplomacy.
Exactly. And they drafted it months ago. And then it got released, and then they instantly retracted it. And it wasn't even...
And didn't they blame, like, the intern or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, we don't know how that got out there.
And it wasn't even that aggressive of a letter. It wasn't condemning Biden. It was just like, hey, man, let's maybe talk to them a little bit and see, But they retracted that, and apparently, I heard this, I forget how many days ago I heard this, but the 101st Airborne is in Romania, right on the border of Ukraine.
This is like an army division, right?
Correct.
This is a large, isn't that a large amount of
They're the
troops?
guys who jumped on D-Day. I mean, that's the...
Okay.
Not the literally the same guys.
And
but
where are they now?
In Romania,
okay,
right on the Ukrainian border. So Romania is kind of to the
western side.
Yeah, like a little bit north of Poland to the west. And also, apparently, there are American troops on the ground in Ukraine that has been reported. So Don Bolduc doesn't sound absolutely insane anymore because his proposal
is happening.
So
okay, so what's the excuse? What's the why are there troops there? Do we know how many of them?
I don't know how many. I just read an article that was saying that there were logistical support and people training. Ukrainian military.
It's fine then. They're just there under an advisory.
No, you know what they are? They are cannon fodder to start a new war.
Well,
that's
because
what
you're saying is if there is an attack that happens to include the U.S. military
soldier,
people getting hurt or killed, then all of a sudden it's on.
And
right? That's what you're saying?
A lot of people are not going to like what I'm about to say. If you're that dumb to join the military under Biden, okay, you probably deserve to be on the front lines right now. Like if you're volunteering to do this.
Yeah, my sister joined under Trump.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's a dumb idea either way.
If you're joining the military in the last 100 years.
So is she over there right now?
No.
Okay, that's good.
Thank God.
That is good.
Yeah.
So
she's not that dumb to be on the front lines.
So logistical, what does that mean? Does that mean they're like just throwing boxes and like moving product, feeding people?
Yeah,
like,
they're training. I know some of them are training Ukrainian troops.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's going to go over well.
Yeah, they're giving advice and stuff like that. I mean, the logistical support isn't new at all. I mean, I think there were, I can't remember if this was 100% confirmed, but there were reports that the United States was advising Ukraine on how to sink the Black Fleet from Russia several months ago.
Huh.
And so, I mean, like, you'd think that would be an act of war in itself already, but it's nothing that new.
Do you know if Russia, Putin or whatever, has made any kind of statement about this?
I'm not aware.
Okay.
I'm sure he's not happy, though.
Is there anything else that we should know?
That's all I know, is that there are troops on the ground in Ukraine, and the 101st Airborne is on the border in Romania, which is not good.
Yeah, I'm scanning over at RT.com, and I'm not seeing anything jumping out at me. Usually there's like some kind of a official statement. Or
I have heard that
from
the
Putin's.
troops are on the ground. I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
The number here is 603-283-6160. There's just no direction that this can go in that, except for total withdrawal that is good, right? Like in any kind of escalation. And this isn't a violent escalation, but it is an escalation of numbers. It is an escalation of strength. You said the 101st Airborne. I don't know how many troops that is, but I think it's pretty large, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not.
I mean, it's not the entirety of it or anything, but a lot of them are over there. So.
And so, and they do airdrops, right? Like they'll drop into an air,
they can
landing zone or something like that. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So who knows where this is going to go from here? I actually haven't seen much news out of Ukraine and Russia in the last few days, and maybe that's just because we've been distracted by.
It's because of Paul Pelosi and the important stuff, man.
Oh yeah,
that rubber hammer.
Yeah,
I have not folled that situation. Can you guys summarize it? Like,
I haven't followed it that closely.
Honestly,
Have you ever looked into it?
I didn't really care. I just automatically, if it was real, it's real. Whatever, it happened, it done. But if it was faked, it's way more interesting. And but it's still, I don't really care. I just don't care.
That could be awkward taken out of context.
Well, let me put it. I care that people don't get hurt. Okay, there you go. But the point is like if you're
it's hard to be concerned with the husband of a politician.
Think about all the breakdown of this. Okay, it's not just so much a husband of a politician. She's a Speaker of the House. She's like third in line in this in the country.
She's one of the worst.
And she don't have Secret Service watching her house at all times. Like you'd think she would. And then all of a
is
sudden,
that an option for her? Could she have that? Is that a thing?
probably she's third in line to be a president.
Is she required to? Maybe even.
I don't know if it's required, but
former presidents, they can't go anywhere without security, right? Isn't that a requirement?
As I understand it. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same way for her, but I don't know.
Well,
but you're saying there was no.
Well, if there was, how did this happen? Is kind of the question.
So okay,
let's just assume she had Secret Service.
So
okay?
hold on, wait.
Okay,
What happened? There was like a guy allegedly with a hammer in this
Green
person's
Party.
home, right?
Hung out. He lived with leftists.
No, he was a total MAGA right-wing extremist. No, I'm just kidding. He wasn't.
No, he lived with a bunch of leftists that had Black Lives Matter and stuff like that on the windows, and he was a Green Party member. And he did say some things how he didn't like Pelosi. That's all I really know about it. But I do know that the Secret Service weren't there, and this is a huge vulnerability to this country. I think it's like January 6th kind of stuff. Like,
aren't there a bunch of weird things about this case though? Like, I mean, again, I haven't looked closely, but I've heard things, right? Like
I haven't either.
That this guy was maybe a prostitute.
Yeah, I think that's part of the allegation is that it's Paul Pelosi's lover, even maybe or something.
And they were having some sort of a spat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that feeling too when I first heard about this. Like the guy was welcomed in the home previously or some sort of thing, and he was in the house again, and then maybe some sort of incident happened because they know each other. They all know each other. Right? Am I right about that? Do they know each other?
I think so.
See, this is more sus. This is like a domestic dispute with Pelosi, and I almost feel like, why would this guy want to attack? You know what I mean? I almost feel like maybe they were the initiators of
Pelosi elbowed him,
I know.
Just saying.
We're going to footage tomorrow.
Yeah. It's unfortunately none of us really know a whole lot about this. I heard something about the cops had come in there and the attack hadn't happened, right? Like they were just... The dude was just armed, right? Like he wasn't defending himself from him, was he? Like they weren't in the midst of a struggle.
They're saying there was a struggle because they both had their hand on the hammer. I remember that specifically. Like people were like, "Whoa, did they both have a hammer in their hand?" Because this wasn't really. They weren't really clear about this too in the news. So I guess they were fighting over the same hammer, the rubber hammer.
Was it
the one they got on Amazon that's pink?
Oh boy! All right,
with the teeth marks on it.
We're gonna leave it there. Check them out. These guys got their own channels on Odyssey. Breaking the Flaw for Joa and Naturalist Capitalist for Reed. And between now and tomorrow night, you can join us online anytime you want over at freetalklive.com. We'll see you tomorrow.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum.